Safety car, I think, has peeled in. Yes, it is. So it's down to the drivers out on track to control the pace. Red lights are still on at the moment. They go out and the race gets underway then. So 3 hours of Tagiwa Club Enduro action underway, and it's I think Carl Swift from the outside of the front row that swept into the lead of the race, and the compact's up to second as well as they turn their way through Riches for the first time. So that car having made a good start, but some dramas there. There are the cars being released from the pit lane as well.
Yeah, there was a touch for Will Stacey with the Audi. They've both got away with it, haven't they? Which might be more luck involved than anything else in all of that, but that's good to see. Everyone's got down to the hairpin then, it looks like, and it's Cole Swift in the leader. Ian Jones is second in the compact. It's side by side for fourth. Steve Hewson is up next, is it? Or Matt Fazy in Steve Hewson's cars. That's made a good start, one of the Class B cars. But it's Sayat from BMW, from Audi, from Lotus. Now as Will Stacey dives up the inside of Phil Knibb, locks up, runs wide, and he's going to lose the place again, I think.
Yeah, so outbraked himself, didn't he? So I think Phil Knibb in the Sayat lane, TCR going back through on the exit of the Agostini hairpin. They're turning their way out of Agostini through the left-hander at Hamilton, down towards the double right-hander at Oggies, and then it's up to Williams. Lots of shuffling of positions to be done in the early laps, because the qualifying session, the conditions were different. There's that bit of smoke actually from the Matt Fazy car as well that we need to watch out for. That's the 11 car we can see going through shot now. That's the Audi of Ryan Parkin starting that car, showing it with Dan Sylvester now, who we saw have some success yesterday in the MR2s. Yeah,
that's right. Here's the Capture Motorsport Audi there of Mark Grice, who didn't make the best of starts from pole position. The two Lotuses have got themselves together, Will Stacey and Leon Bidgeway. And Stacey's out wide there over the curve, but sideways, he's back on again. That car's really quick. Rob Boston drove that car yesterday to win the Road Sports race, and kind of wonder if it might have that pace again today. Rob Boston will be in it later. And that's Steve Cheetham gaining positions there on the inside in his Porsche Boxster. There's Andy Schultz, who unusually starting this race in Matthew Hampton's M3, so he's again going to be somebody to watch coming through the field from much further back on the grid.
These cars just making a fantastic sound as they go underneath our commentary box to complete the first lap. Carl Swift it is that's leading by a second and a half from Ian Jones, clinging on in that BMW compact at the moment. Will Beach in third place, Mark Grice, isn't it, in the 27 car in third place, and then Phil Knibb in fourth, number 92 in the Sayat. So it's Sayat leading, BMW second, Audi third, and Sayat fourth, but with the Will Stacey Lotus right behind him as they went through Palmer that time. Then it's another Lotus of Liam Bidgeway just behind him in sixth.
He was almost in the boot of the Sayat there, wasn't he, as he went through Palmer?
Probably fit, wouldn't it?
Pretty much. But he couldn't get past, importantly. I think he's got the speed, or certainly through the corners, of these touring cars. It's tiny, isn't it, the Lotus behind the Sayat there? But at this point, Will Stacey can't get through. So down towards Oggies, is he going to have another go here, perhaps up the inside? Yes, I think Phil Knibb's letting him have the line this time, isn't he? He could see what was coming, so Will Stacey's gone through finally into fourth position, but down the straight, will he be able to hold on?
Yeah, we'll see about that. Leon Bidgeway there is going to be next to Badger Phil Knibb in that number 92 car, which is making its way along the Bentley Straight. There's quite a gap back, isn't there, from Bidgeway to Matt Fazy in 7th place in the number 13 Porsche. And is it Jonathan Packer that's still there in 8th place in the number 5 VW Golf? We can see the 49 car of Stacey then. It is still ahead of the Knibb car, and it's now sort of challenging Mark Grice for third position. He's right with Grice. Again, much bigger Audi, much bigger presence on the circuit. Heading into Moes. Stacey up the inside, absolutely alongside the Audi now, but I think in a straight line the Audi's just got a little bit more grunt, but actually Stacey, with that, I think it's a Rover engined Lotus, trying to cling on, can't quite do it though, but nevertheless, gamely trying. And up to fourth place on that lap, but the best lap of the race so far goes to Carl Swift at 2:05.24.
Yeah, that's right. Full of fuel, of course, at this point of the race. Only a couple of seconds off of lap record speed in Club Enduro. Ian Jones still there in second, and Grice has run wide here into the Wilson hairpin, so Will Stacey tries to slot the Lotus up the inside, but can't do it. So we'll have to try again. Then Phil Knibb, who's having a good stint, he went well in Road Sports at Brands Hatch a few weeks ago. Then Liam Bidray there in 6th position, but here comes Will Stacey up the inside, possibly into the hairpin, but that's covered, I think, in the end by Mark Grice. So Grice in the Audi hangs on, but through the infield, this is where the Lotus Elise is really strong.
Yeah, absolutely, very much favours the twisty bits of the circuit. The Rob Boston Racing Lotus, they're ahead of the Philip Knibb car, just tucked in behind that Capture Motorsport car. There's the 49 of Stacey then, heading down the straight ahead of number 27.
Ben Rushworth is inside the top 20
wow.
from the pit lane, so he's been pushing on. Andy Schulz and Andy Marston have only got 14th and 15th from sort of outside the top 20, so that's not quite the progress I was expecting from them.
No.
But Ben Rushworth doing a great job. Okay, he's overtaking cars that perhaps aren't so quick, but he's done a much more effective job than Colin Gillespie, who's 25th. At this stage and a further 10 seconds behind, but problem is already.
That's Paul Browse's car, isn't it, that's into the pit, I think?
Yeah.
The number 22 is that Stowmarket Glass entered car for the Browse family, the E46 M3 GTR. Who's that making a mistake there at Nelson? That is Rushworth, isn't it, who was up into the top 20 after just 2 laps, having effectively started 43rd, I think, from the pit lane. Ben Rushworth, the former Hot Hatch champion, Metro champion as well before that. So lots of experience under his belt, very rapid racer, getting his chance this season in something even more spectacular.
There's Steve Cheetham, where's he got 11th.
Yeah. Saw
that car with the gearbox out in the lunch breaks, they've been busy. 28 here, that's the car of Andrew Stewart. And he's outside the top 20, isn't he? A little bit further down the order, I think, but good to see him out there. Great, varied grid. There's the Mazda that was on pole in Class C. John Munro at the wheel of that car, who had their best result this season, has been second, which came across another car for the pit lane. I think that's the M2. The Charlie Dark driven car, so that's another car in strife in the really early stages of this race.
Yeah, what have we had? 7.5 minutes of the race so far, so yep, obviously too early for a compulsory stop. Those can't be made until 30 minutes into the race, so some mechanical or electrical issue maybe needing to be resolved. That is the another MX-5 going through. That's Rowan Lundy starting in the Mark III, driving from Essex. And the Holton Commodores are another car that's had to come through the order. Where's that got up to? That's got up to 27th place. But let's head down to Kieran McGinley. Let's see what Kieran's got to tell us in the pit lane.
Yes, thank you. Down here in the pit lane with the number 22, just off to my left-hand side. Issue with the fan belt, which is why they've had to come in. They've made a bit of a fix of it, using a mop to keep the bonnet up, but they're looking to try and get back out there. I was given a thumbs up, so all signs lead to they're going to get this thing back out there.
Thanks, Kieran. Good to hear. That's what you can do in these longer races, of course, is get the car back out. Here's the Ginetta G40, which was in strife yesterday, the Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster car. You can see it's got its boot and rear wing back. That car had a best result so far this year of 4th in Class B, and then the Andrew Stewart car's got issues now. A little bit of, is it fuel leaking perhaps out the car? It's obviously full of fuel at the moment, but that's something the officials might be keeping an eye on. There's certainly some kind of fluid leaking as it went onto the Bentley straight. 99 here, that's the Joe Williams Volkswagen Golf, who's involved in a battle with 53, which I think is the car started by Joel Oswick.
Ben Rushworth's up to 17th now, and he's to a 206.67, which I think is about the 3rd fastest lap that anybody's done so far in this race. So Carl's just gone faster, and also having gone faster is Andy Schultz, who's now up to 8th place, by the way. But then the next fastest car out there is Ben Rushworth in 17th.
Yeah, so that's impressive. So two competitors that didn't start where they would have liked, making their way through the order. There is the Ginetta, the car that's owned by Chris Webster. Matthew Tidmarsh is the driver who shares it with him, but it is Webster that's starting. Some side-by-side action here. That's the Lotus Exige, I think, that's gone through nice. He didn't have a good grid position. The car shared between David Trigg and Stuart Dayburn, the Cup R specification of car. Here's the leader, though. That is Rob Baker and Cole Swift. They took wins at Donington Park and last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, and they lead by 8 seconds. Great battle, so in the Class B. And we're just hearing, actually, that the Browns have realised they can't fix it. The 22 car, we believe, is retiring the car into the garage. But the Class B battles continue, including from the 999 car, Ricky Kumba, out in his Honda Civic. Good to see that car that's done 24-hour races in the past with us this weekend. It's a very noisy place at the moment with the aerial displays here, but on the circuit there's been a change for third position because Will Stacey off camera has got himself up ahead of Mark Grice finally, so we're seeing now he's clear what kind of lap times he can do.
Yeah, he's got about 4 seconds or so to catch Ian Jones in the mighty BMW Compact, the number 117 car, which has got a 3.2 litre engine. At the moment we've got on screen there the number 20 car going through, which 120 should say. That's the car that is in 29th position, the Radstock car. Black and white driving standards flag going out to car 28 now, and that's Andrew Stewart. Okay, that's interesting. I could imagine the mechanical warning flag going out to that car with the fluid we saw leaking from it, but actually he's getting a driver warning flag.
That's very early for that to be happening as well, isn't it? So you've got to be careful with that. So that battle continues. The Matthias Radestock Lotus, he shares with Jason McNulty, two very quick Lotus drivers sharing that car. You also got in that battle 76, which is Michael Downey's Porsche Boxster. I think went well yesterday in the Road Sports race. So that's a real battle to watch out there on the circuit, down into the hairpin. You've also got 53 in there, which is the Class C car of Joel Oswick, and he leads Class C, I think.
Yes, I think you're right.
So John Munro's dropped back a bit. There's quite a few places in that class, I think.
He's 1, 2, 3, 4th in class at the moment. Some of the Class B cars mixed in as well.
Class B leader, by the way, is now dropped to 10th. Matt Fazy and Steve Hewson's Porsche Cayman that's been rebuilt since Spa. The McNulty Lotus has spun. Second in Class B is Jonathan Packer, and third is Luke Handley in the Volkswagen Golfs from Area Motorsport. But for McNulty,
Matthias Radestock.
Yeah, Radestock in the car that he shares with McNulty is off. Here's the other BMW that had to pit early in.
Yeah, it would be interesting if Kieran can give us an update on what's going on with the 235 car there, because it was an unscheduled stop for Charlie Dark. Andrew Jebson, it should be taking the second stint in the race, but at the moment the car's going nowhere. It's been in there for 3 or 4 minutes now, hasn't it? So it looks like a real problem for that team, I'm afraid to say. Especially because we've only had 13 minutes of a 3-hour race.
So we've got more cars going a bit quicker now. So Will Stacey has got into the 205, so he's starting to catch Ian Jones, but also into the 205. Now in 6th overall is Andy Shawls, and Ben Rushworth's also in that time bracket. He's 13th, so they're all progressing up the order and lapping not dissimilar pace to the overall race leader.
Yeah, which last time did a 205.26, that being Carl Swift in the lead of the race. 11.25 seconds clear in car number 1 of 117, which is Ian Jones, Will Stacey number 49 third, Mark Rice number 27 in 4th.
Interesting car here, the Volkswagen Sirocco 63, the John Maudsley and Stuart Mead car. That car was built in 2009 by Volkswagen to race in the 24-hour race. So that's great to see that car out. It's Stuart Mead who has started the car that's prepared by Saxon Motorsport. And there's Will Stacey going through past the traffic. He's there in 3rd position. He started the lap 3 seconds behind Ian Jones. And there's the leader though, across the line. That's Cole Swift to complete 7 laps of this race. So I'm going to say the traffic has begun now, and that's going to be a common factor for the remainder of the race. But Ian Jones are through in second place. A new fast, that's earlier, wasn't it? The fastest lap was done by Cole Swift, who's 12 seconds ahead of Ian Jones, but who's being caught by about a second a lap now by Will Stacey, who's really a championship contender this year. He's second in the Class A points. He was the race winner at Croft, and now sharing with team owner Rob Boston this weekend. That's going to be a quick car. Andy Schall's through. He's in the 2.5s again, so he's nearly caught Phil Knibb for 5th now, as the M2 is making its way out of the pit lane. I think the Charlie Dark car. So that's will have lost a number of laps. Penalties now already for track limits, and that is that 28 car. So Andrew Stewart has got himself in a bit of strife in his Honda Civic, already exceeding track limits and getting penalties just 7 laps into the race.
Yes, and of course if you do it again, it's another 10 seconds, then a 30-second penalty, then drive through, and then exclusion if he or anyone else continues to repeat offend on track limits infringements.
He's a solo driver as well. But yeah, that's not good really, is it? The Clio out there, good to see a Clio Cup car. There's Chris Byallen and Simon Mason car, the 4th generation Clio 1600cc turbo car, prepared by MLP Developments. There's Joe Williams, who's out there in his Golf, battling with Michael Downey. And they come through. Where are they battling for? 29th position, I think. That's going to get really busy when Cole Swift is coming up to lap them, which won't be too much longer.
No, it won't. It's worth mentioning we have a Clubman Cup as well for cars that are more than sort of 10 years old, and Leon Bridgeway it is that's leading that, I think, at the moment in the 32, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be right, I think, the first of those cars.
TCR battle going on because Ben Rushworth has caught the Matthew Wallace Sayat. And this is a battle for 10th position, and Rushworth's been lapping a couple of seconds quicker. But how easy is it now going to be to make a pass on a very similar type of car?
Yeah, should be sort of very similar speed in a straight line, you would think. Ben's extra racecraft might tell, and he might be able to make a move through the corners.
Ben Rushworth with James Ramsden. They were on the podium at Spa last time out there, side by side now as they lap an MX-5, and Rushworth round the outside into Ritchie's, goes through, so he's into the top 10. And actually it's Andy Marston who's in front of him, who's perhaps not made the progress I was anticipating.
Yeah, so the 2 car there of Rushworth into the top 10 now, and they're one of a few cars that were caught out by post-race ride height, post-qualification ride height checks.
Guess it's better to get it checked and then get excluded then and sort it out for the race.
Absolutely.
But they have lost sort of 40 seconds to the leader. There's the Boxster there of Michael Downey. He's just starting to get away from that battle that he's been involved in. Some great battles all the way through the field here.
It's worth mentioning as well, when we get to the pit stops, and those can start in about 11.5 minutes time now, that some drivers will have to have success penalties that they have to serve after having good results in previous races. The 28 car is in as Stewart now. They've got that up on the jacks as well. So we saw him get the track limits penalty, but also some checks on the cars and a non-mandatory stop here. But yeah, pit stop penalties. In particular, 30-second penalty. As we see the 235 car going slowly again. Carl Swift and Rob Baker, they have a 30-second penalty to serve. I won't give you the full list at the moment, but the ones with 30 seconds penalties are Luke Handley and also the Joel Oswick and Dan Asano car, and also Paul Sibiani and Jonathan Hayes. They all have 30-second penalties to serve. There's several with 20 or 10 seconds they've accumulated in previous races.
They only need to serve at the first pit stop, I believe, so they don't need to do that twice. So you have to then try and make time up later. There's one of the front runners in Class B, Jonathan Packer. He's 3rd in his Golf, and he's been chased by the similar car of Chris Freeman. So the area Motorsport Golf's high up. Here's a battle in Class A, but that was, I think, a bit further down the overall order. Sliding the car around is Jonathan Packer. These Class B area Golfs are solo driven, aren't they? Luke Handley, Jonathan Pack and Christopher Freeman. So we'll see how they get on. But it's Matt Fazy who leads Class B in the Porsche Cayman that he shares with Steve Hewson. He's 6 seconds ahead. And they're just being passed by Colin Gillespie right now. He started from the pit lane in his Seat that he shares with Phil Dryborough. And here's a challenge down the inside for Chris Freeman. Brakes late, goes through ahead of Jonathan Packer. So that's Chris Freeman through. He finished 3rd earlier in the season at Croft. Jonathan Packer behind. He was class winner at the first round at Donington Park.
Car 45 now getting the driving standard track. That's Arthur McMahon in the Honda Civic Type R, the driver from Letterkenny over in Ireland.
It's the Irish drivers, isn't it?
It is.
That are being instructed by the Motorsport UK track limit regulations at the moment. 15 seconds is Cole Swift's lead. He's halfway there, isn't he, to pulling out this 30-second margin. But for second place, Ian Jones has now been caught by Will Stacey. Class B battles continue out on the circuit. Andy Schulz is 5th now, by the way, so he's got past Phil Knibb and he has caught Mark Grice, the poleman. So Andy Schulz continuing to make progress. But there's Christopher Freeman then. And he's running now 3rd in class after making that pass at the beginning of the lap.
The Charlie Dark car we saw in the pits and then back out on circuit, I think that originally came in because the car was, as they described it, hesitating. Wasn't sure why the car was behaving in that way, but they did send it out to see how it panned out. But it didn't look like that was a complete success, potentially, when the car did go back out. So we'll see if they're able to continue in the race.
This Class B battle continues in the Volkswagen Golf. So as Colin Gillespie dives up the inside of Luke Handley's version, which probably wouldn't have done Luke Handley's pace on the exit corner much good, but Gillespie wants to get through, he wants to make up places, and that position will be 13th, won't it, for him? He's got decent paces in the 6s, so a similar type of time to what Mark Bryson has been doing. He started from pole.
Yeah, he's just carving his way through some of the Class B runners, isn't he, and getting onto the terms with the top 11, which are all Class A cars now. The only Class B car still ahead is about 5 seconds up the road, and that's the Fazy and Hewson car.
Car 10 into the pit lane. That's the car that was started by Rob Fennick, that he shares with Andy Shepherd, the Lotus Elise, in Strife. So that's a shame there. Looks like they're looking into the engine department. So that car is another early pit visitor before the window opens with a mechanical issue.
It's one of the British Sports Car Services entries, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the only one in this race.
Yeah.
Here's for second first. He in traffic. This is exciting. Will Stacey tried to go right round the outside, around the back marker as well. Can he get past Ian Jones? It'll be a mighty move if he can pull it off as they come into shot. Where are they going to work out? Well, it's Stacey down the inside. Fantastic move that to get himself up ahead of Ian Jones. But can he keep it on the exit? How much power has that BMW got? Well, I think it's got quite a lot because he's drawing back alongside Stacey. They're side by side in the traffic, and he goes back through, does Ian Jones, the front runner in the BMW Compact Cup for a number of years. But he's driving this modified version car. It's probably about 20 seconds a lap faster than the car in original form. The car that's owned by Martin Gadsby. He's driving it really well, and he's back into second place. It's fantastic battle in the traffic. This is what endurance racing is all about.
Absolutely, and they were just lapping a moment or so ago the BMW of car 53, that's the 328i BMW of Joel Oswick, who is still leading in Class C in 32nd place overall, ahead of Baptiste, Tim Hartman in number 98, and the number 121 car, which is that of David Russell and Ed McKean in their 3 Series that we often see out in the Armed Forces races.
This battle for second is being caught by Andy Schulz, who was 2 seconds quicker on the last lap. He's up to 4th now, and Andy Schulz started way down the grid. Outside the top 20, row 14 actually, did Andy Schulz. He's up to 4th place now and catching this man, Will Stacey, in his Lotus Elite, which has got a great big rear diffuser on the car that you can see there, the car that's won yesterday's Road Sports race in the hands of Rob Boston.
120, by the way, now getting the track limits warning flag as well. That's Matthias Radstock in the Invitation class Lotus Elise.
So Ian Jones has got away in the traffic, you can see here in his compact from Stacey's Elite. And then here comes Andy Schulz through the traffic with Mark Grice's Audi in there as well. And Andy Schulz, the former Brit Car champ in the TalkSpeed M3 here today, is lapping that Volkswagen Sirocco that I mentioned, the John Maudsley and Stuart Mead car. This car that runs the 2-litre turbo engine that was built for the Nürburgring 24 hours 13 years ago now. And he's now about to be lapped by the Capture Motorsport Audi of Mark Grice. He's there in 5th position. And there you can see the Class C leader in all of this as well, that Ian just mentioned. 53, the car share, or driven now even by Joel Oswick, the BMW 328i, who finished as the race winner at Croft earlier in the season, hence why they got that penalty.
So we can see there the 49 car in 3rd place of Will Stacey, heading down towards the left-hander at Palmer. There's the car he's chasing, and more than 2 seconds between them now. Quite a long gap back then to Schulz at the moment, but he is closing slightly on those cars ahead of him. The lap times have dropped away a little bit as more traffic is now being encountered by the front runners.
Yeah, there's a lot of it on the previous lap, wasn't it? They've dealt with that now. Liam Bidray, he's there in 6th. He's got himself up ahead of Phil Knibb now.
3 Lotuses almost side by side there down into Agostini, but Bidray, the one that's on the lead lap there.
And it looks like now behind him is Andy Marston, who gets a bit sideways, but he's got himself up ahead of Phil Knibb, who in turn has Ben Rushworth to deal with. So Ben Rushworth has caught this battle, which really, you got 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th and 10th, not separated by very much, because you've got Ryan Parkins Audi TT in there too, and Ben Rushworth dives up the inside of Phil Knibb and a back marker. They went either side of the back marker. Rushworth chose the right way. He's learning all the time this year, isn't he, about lap traffic. He didn't really have to deal with that in his previous sprint race in Exploits, and that was a real thing for him to get used to early on in the season.
I think the interesting thing as well is he's still only about 40 seconds behind the leader, so he's not really lost any more time, has he, over the last sort of 10 or 15 minutes or so. Let's head down to the pit lane. Kieran.
I'm down here then at the garages at the number 10 car, and I'm here with Andrew. Andrew, what's going on with the car then?
Well, we had a loose alternator connection which was causing a voltage drop and a misfire, so it was only in 4th and 5th on full power. We're getting intermittent power delivery, so we won't be able to get the straights. And of course, at Snetterton 300, especially in a Lotus, you need that speed. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we've sorted the connection, and Rob's circulating now. So hopefully, we've sorted it.
Hopefully, those gremlins won't get the best of you.
No, hopefully, well, 3 hours, so we'll see.
Long way to go. Thank you, Andrew, for that one. Andrew Shepherd there with that update. It's back to you.
Thanks, Kieran. Yes, still more than 2.5 hours of this race left to go. Confirmation of changes on that lap with Andy Marston and Ben Rushworth both making up positions on that lap. So they've gone 7th and 8th, and off the circuit there is number 5. That's Jonathan Packer from 16th position and 3rd in Class B. Briefly off at Murray's there. He's got a little bit in hand over to the next car in that class, which I think is the Ginetta, isn't it, of number 8, being started by Chris Webster.
Yeah, so that wasn't so good for Jonathan Packers. That means he loses more time to Chris Freeman, who took that 3rd position away from him a couple of laps ago in the class. Steve Cheetham there isn't going as well, perhaps with those issues I saw earlier with having to work on the car, what we might expect from Steve. He's 18th here, sharing his car for a change. You've got David Hornsey out in his Boxster, and Ben Rushworth round the outside of Andy Marston gets another place into Williams. So great move there from Ben. He's up to 7th now, so that's what, 45th or whatever it is, basically started from the pit lane up into 7th position within half an hour, and he's not that far behind Liam Bidray here, who's in 6th position in his Lotus Exige.
27, the car of Will Beach and Mark Grice, started by Mark Grice. That's now getting the track limits warning flag as well, so they will need to to watch their step for the remaining 150 minutes of the race.
So there's Rushworth through in that Corton Miller run Sayat, who only a couple of laps ago was 7th. He's now, he was 9th. He's now in 7th position. And behind there's been a change because another place lost by Phil Knibb. This time it's Ryan Parkin that's got ahead of him. Ryan Parkin in the Audi TT that this weekend he shares with Dan Sylvester. Great to have that TT out there. It's a petrol engine car at the moment, but I think the Darkside developments team are planning to turn that to a diesel engine car at some stage, because that's their business, diesel engined cars. So we look forward to perhaps seeing that in the future.
So 2.5 hours left to go. So the pit lane window now open, isn't it, for official stops as well. I can see the 28 car going back out into the race. That's the Andrew Stewart car. It's been in there for a while for the Dublin, the 2.4 litre Civic Type R.
You saw they go through that 9th and 10th place cars after they've switched around. Here's 11th, the Sayat. That's Matthew Wallace. And then Colin Gillespie is now 12, so he's passed all the Class B cars, which is still led by Matthew Fazy. He's 3 seconds ahead of Luke Handley, who's been caught by Chris Freeman. So Chris Freeman is the quickest of the Area Motorsport Golfs today, or so far in this race. There is a Class B leader just going through. That's Fazy. A good job by Steve Hewson and his team to get that Porsche Cayman back out, because they had a big accident at Spa last time out.
Jonathan Packer now getting a track limits warning flag as well. We saw him off the circuit, didn't we, a lap or so ago, so that explains that.
There's about of a second in Class B, because as I was suggesting, Christopher Freeman is catching Luke Handley here. Yeah. Luke Handley, the class championship leader, and here's Ben Rushworth. He wants more positions because he's caught Leon Bidgeway in that Lotus Exige now, who's in 6th. Rushworth is 7th. Wonder if he can make another place here, Ian.
There's a good chance, I would think, isn't he? Ben's best lap time is a 2:05.82. Bidgeway's a 2:07.40. So he's lapping quicker than him. He's also lapping quicker than Mark Grice as well, who is another little way up the road as well.
Notice it's for second, Ian. They've got themselves back together because Ian Jones has been re-caught by William Stacey. 20 seconds behind the leader, but that battle is back on. There's a slippery surface flag out here opposite us, or something on the circuit, not sure quite what. No,
I can't see anything from where we are, but yep, slippery surface flag being shown. There is, I can see, a bit of bodywork. It's about the 200-yard mark. Something on the right-hand side, I think it's red in colour, so I'm not quite sure what it is, but warning for a bit of debris there in any case.
Yeah, very small bit of debris, so hopefully won't cause so much of an issue. And Class B leaders come across the line. Matthew Fazy continues to lead that class, and he is 2.3 seconds now ahead of the Golfs, which are going a little quicker on that last lap. Luke Handley taking Christopher Freeman with him. Here's about a second, and it's side by side between Stacey and Jones. Ian Jones again using the BMW power to stay ahead of William Stacey's little Lotus. So still, this is remarkable. I think from Ian Jones, although now he's sideways, that's not going to help his cause. But he power slides out of it in the traditional BMW M Sport colours as well.
Absolutely, but is he going to lose the place there? I think he is going to lose the place to William Stacey. Yep, in the first part of quorum, Stacey goes through, so possibly the momentum being sat there by that moment at Nelson, and Stacey able to go through to second position. Meanwhile, car 45, which is Arthur McMahon in the Class B Honda Civic Type R, he's now getting a 5-second penalty as well. There's the 10 car, I think, back in the pits. I think it did go out again, didn't it? But that's the Fenwick and Shepherd car back in the pit lane.
So Stacey 22 seconds behind Swift, and is Jones in the pit? He hasn't come through. Yes, he's into the pit lane. So this is our first mandatory stop. What I was going to say is Swift's got a 30-second pit stop penalty, and I think Stacey's got a 20, hasn't he?
That's right, I think.
So it might bring some others into contention, potentially including Ian Jones. Now, is it a problem for Ian Jones because he wasn't getting out of the car there? I could see on the brief shot that we had behind the Lotus. It might be good to go back to the pit lane camera if we can and get a better view of that. Is there a problem for Ian Jones who was driving so well in that BMW Compact. We saw him that big slide. Was that more than just a mistake, perhaps?
Yeah, well, the way then that Will Stacey was able to get through very easily at the next turn suggested that there was something that not quite right with that car. There's the 28 car back out into the race of that Andrew Stewart Civic Type R. That was the car that had the driver warning flag and spent quite a lot of time in the pit lane, so he's a few laps down now. So this is the battle for 6th and 7th. Leon Bidgeway and the 37 car of Andy Marston, showing with Brett Evans. Bidgeway going solo today, and they are just behind. Is that the Rushworth car still just ahead of them on the road? Yes, I think it is.
Ben Rushworth would have got past Leon Bidgeway since we last
Yeah,
saw.
absolutely.
We saw that part. There's the Diesel Golf, just lapping the Mazda MX-5, the John Munro car. Class C, still headed by 53, Joel Oswick. Second is the Roy Baptiste and Tim Hartland car. Third is David Russell and Eddie McKean. So yeah, John Munro's like 5th in the class. And there is Ian Jones's car. And it does look in trouble. Andy Waters, the preparer. Martin Gadsby, the car owner. Looks like they're pushing the car into the garage, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it looks like it just getting it straightened up to get it back into the garage. So that's a great shame, because that car had a great qualifying session, qualified 4th, was running in 2nd position behind Carl Swift, but sadly now out of the race. So a bit of variety in the top 10 has fallen by the wayside, unfortunately. The race order at the moment is number 1 leading, that's Carl Swift. 2nd is number 49, Will Stacey. In 3rd place is number 69, Andy Schultz. In 4th place, 27, Mark Grice. In 5th is number 2, Ben Rushworth. In 6th is 32, Leon Bidgeway. In 7th is number 37, Andy Marston. 8th is number 11, Ryan Parkin. In 9th place, number 92, Phil Knibb. Rounding out the top 10 is number 6, Matthew Wallace. In Class B, it's number 13, Matt Fazy, that leads. From number 51, Luke Handley in 2nd place. Number 14, Chris Freeman, is in 3rd. And in Class C, it's number 53, Dan Osano, that leads the way. From 98, Rory Baptiste, and 121, David Russell.
So 4 different types of car, or makes of car, in the top 4. You've got the Seat, from the Lotus, from the BMW, and from the Audi. So that's pretty good, isn't it, up front here in this Club Enduro 3-hour race. The longest race really of the season. At Spa they run for a little bit longer, but that was split into 2 sections compared to this running all the way through 3 hours in one go. And Colin Gillespie, how's he getting on? Well, he's 11th now, and lapping quicker than the Matthew Wallace car ahead, that's 7 seconds in front. So some positions perhaps to gain yet for Colin Gillespie in this stint. He shares with Phil Driver, ex-British GT racer.
The Crown Paints M235i of Charlie Dark and Andrew Jepson, that's in the pits again, and it's an overheating issue that car's got, unfortunately. So they're in the garage at the moment, possibly not to return, but there's still 2 hours and 20 minutes or so to go.
Holden goes through, that's another car started from the back, that's into the top 20 now. The car that was started by Will Ashmore, the Holden Commodore. Just saw it go through there. Here's the little Mazda MX-5 that's running in Class A. I think it's a supercharged car that BS Motorsport have put together. Ben Short's currently 21st in the car that he shares with Ben Hansey. There is the Audi. And Mark Grice is 13 seconds ahead of Ben Rushworth at this stage, so he is holding on there in 4th as he goes into Richie's corner there. He's in a 208. Ben Rushworth through is in the 205s, so he was 2.5 seconds quicker than Mark Grice on that lap. Here's Andy Schultz, who's 3rd we're watching. He's in the 207s. He's 5 seconds behind William Stacey, so he's slowly been catching him. I think it was 7 when you mentioned that a few laps ago.
Yeah.
It's coming down, not a great rate. Wonder how much quicker Rob Boston might be able to go in that car, because he was in the 3s, I think, yesterday in the Road Sports race, which would be quicker than what Cole Smith's managed. Class C battle here, that's 66, which is the car that's shared between Jonathan Hayes and Paul Saviani, the BMW 318 Ti that had won at Donington Park and at Spa, battling with the Mazda MX-5 that's shared with by Nick Dougal and John Munro. The car finished 2nd at Croft.
That's for 4th within that class, isn't it? They're disputing with 40 minutes of this race here now gone. There's Colin Gillespie going through in 11th position. We saw a shot of him going through. The Scottish driver sharing the full drive route. Let's head another look down in the pit lane. Kieran McGinley is there once again.
Well, down here at the 117 garage, Ian has brought the car in. Ian, what's the problem?
One of the front rear bushes has just failed. So we're just swapping it out for a new one, try and get out there and finish the race and enjoy yourself. That's what you're here for, so that's what we're going to do.
And how long do you reckon the repair is going to take?
Hopefully about sort of 15-20 minutes. Andy at AW Track Sport's brilliant, so he's on it now and get us back out.
We'll see what happens then. We'll want to see you back out there, Ian.
Yeah, it's a shame because I was having a good little battle for second and third with Rob Boston. That little Lotus is amazing on the infield, but he just didn't have straight line legs, so it's kind of like waving at each other every time we overtook each other. But it is what it is, that's racing.
Well, hopefully we'll see you back out there with that repair then, Ian.
Yeah, hopefully.
Perfect, thank you very much. It's back to you.
Thanks, Kieran. And it'd be good to see the compact back out on circuit. Probably we'll expect to see Martin Gadsby perhaps back out in that later on in the race, the owner of the car. AW Track Sport, the preparer. That's the 121 car, that's the David Russell and Eddie McKean BMW 328 that's in third place within Class C at the moment. We get a glimpse of that one going through. Porsche and BMW going through. That's the 98 car, isn't it? Just up ahead of them, Rory Baptiste at the moment. Just in behind the 43 car of Steve Cheatham, who's showing with David Hornsey this weekend. He's currently running 17th overall and I think 13th in Class A. It's all top, all Class A top 11 at the moment. In practice this morning, which was wet, had a few of the Class B cars getting inside the top 10, but not so much in the race where the conditions are pretty much perfect now, I think.
And there's 121 you were mentioning high up in Class C. Eddie McKean starting, David Russell his co-driver. 20 laps completed by the race leader Cole Swift. For sixth position there's been a change because Andy Marston has got himself ahead of Liam Bidgwaite, so he's getting himself back up there is Andy Marston in the car that he shares with Brett Evans. I understand Brett Evans went solo yesterday in Road Sports and they're sharing the car today. So here's 98 then, that Tim Hartland and Rory Baptiste BMW Compact high up in Class C. They finished second at Donington Park earlier in the season, just being lapped by the little Ginetta G40, the Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster car. That's fourth in the championship within Class B, and they've had their best result of a fourth at Donington Park and at Croft. Looking for their first podium here this weekend at Snetterton within Class B, but we watch that Class C BMW 330 working its way through the infield.
Yeah, BMW 330s have gone well in Class C. He says, oh, that's the BMW Compact back out already. I thought it was going to take 15 minutes to sort out.
Andy Waters is showing why you use him to repair your car.
Absolutely. So that's gone back out into this. Now, is that Ian Jones that's back out in that car?
He didn't look like it was getting back in, did he? So it makes sense for Martin Gadsby, the owner of the car, to get into it.
Well, they've still got one more mandatory stop to make as well, haven't they? So they can always swap that back round again in the final stages.
I wonder if that was sort of the plan to start with, that Ian Jones would start the car and finish. 29 seconds is Cole Swift's lead over Will Stacey, so he's done what he needed to. He's got that 30 seconds gap, and that's over a car that's got a longer pit stop anyway. So that's working out for him. There's the David Russell owned car, I think, but driven by Eddie McKean, the Royal Air Force livery. Car we see out in the Armed Forces Racing Challenge regularly. Just saw Stacey go through there in a second. Andy Schultz still catching him. 4.8 seconds was the gap at the end of the previous lap. And They come up across the line. Will Stacey first. He did a 2:07.4 on that lap. The gap comes down by almost a full second that time. There's the BMW. Andy Schulz 2:06.5. The lead gap, or the gap between second and third, I should say, is now down to 4 seconds. So it just comes down slightly some more. There's fourth, the Audi. So that's Mark Grice, who's now only 5 seconds ahead of Ben Rushworth. Lights ablaze in the Seat there, and he's just done his best lap of the race, a personal best for Ben Rushworth. 21 laps into the stint. Okay, the fuel's coming down, but sort of the tyres are being worn. 2:05.62 there for Ben Rushworth, and he was 1.6 seconds quicker than Mark Grice, who he's catching.
Just looking at the timer screen at the moment, we can see that Carl Swift is more than half a minute clear now of Will Stacey. Carl Swift has got a 30-second penalty at the first pit stop to serve, but Will Stacey's then got a 20-second penalty at that same pit stop to serve, as we're seeing a black and white driving standards flag go out to number 67, Julian McBride. But there's only 35 seconds between first and third, which is Andy Schulz at the moment. So that could put Schulz in some kind of contention, although we know that he's a much quicker driver than Matthew Hampson, who'll be in the car for the later part of this race. That's for certain. So still looking pretty good here for Carl Swift and Rob Baker, I would think, in terms of their chances of victory, but still a long way to go. 2.25 hours, just under that left to go, and it will be very much all to play for, because there could be some kind of issue with the car. Safety car could come out, and that could play havoc with strategy and so on and so forth. So we'll see how things pan out, but certainly for the overall victory at the minute, looking good for Carl Swift and Rob Baker. There is the 15 car, which is being driven at the moment by Colin Gillespie. That car is going to have a 20-second success penalty to serve, and they are just coming up at the moment to put a lap on the number 66 Paul Sabiani BMW 318 Ti, and they've done so.
Will Stacey across the line again. He's now less than 3 seconds ahead of Andy Schulz, who's another second quicker again in that battle for second place. Mark Grice through in fourth. He's in the sevens again, and Ben Rushworth across the line, this time in the sixes. He's 5 seconds behind Mark Grice. They head down towards Ritchie's, where the darkening clouds are coming back again.
Looks like it might be raining over there in that direction.
Cars in the pits. 881 is the Lewis Rose and Aaron Rose Honda Civic, and 888 is the Graham Price and Jason Hennifer Renault Megane.
That's the 112 car being lapped. That's Manoj Patel going full 3 hours all on his own in that road-going Civic. And yeah, he's just being lapped there by Colin Gillespie in the 15 car as well.
And Gillespie's trying to get the better of Matthew Wallace. That's about a 10th, although when Gillespie turned into Ritchie's, the back end of the car got pretty loose, the car got sideways, so Wallace stays ahead. They're actually now in 9th and 10th because Phil Knibb hasn't come through, which makes me wonder if he's come into the pit lane.
I'm going to lean forward, and the problem is there's a building just to our left that means we can't really see. There are some cars in the pit lane certainly, but I can't tell you for certain that the Knibb car is one of them.
Class B leaders go through. That gap is coming down. Steve Hewson 2.6 seconds ahead of Luke Handley, who's only 0.8 of a second ahead of Christopher Freeman. And it's side by side now for what is 9th position as Colin Gillespie goes down the inside of Matthew Wallace and he goes through. So that's the Capture Motorsport car ahead of the Area Motorsport car, both Seats. And that's that change then for 9th position. Colin Gillespie was a couple of seconds quicker on the previous lap, but he started from the pits. Only his second race in this car, which he debuted at Croft and actually finished second there, which obviously was a good effort. He went solo on that occasion. He's got former British GT driver Phil Dryborough with him this weekend, ex-Aston Martin man. There you see the sky over Snetterton. It looks pretty menacing, doesn't it?
That's dramatic, isn't it? That shot. Very artistic. But yes, you would be expecting that some rain may be starting to fall here at Snetterton in the next few minutes.
Less than 2 seconds in it for second now. So William Stacey versus Andy Schulz. The gap continues to be reduced. particularly on these last couple of laps. Andy Schultz has been catching the Lotus driver, Stacey. Will Stacey has had a lot of success in one make racing before, Mazdas and Lotuses, but he's focusing into endurance racing with Club Enduro over the last couple of seasons. And the Class B car that was the class winner last year, now out of this Class A machine. There's 88, which is the car shared by father and daughter, Peter and Nicola Gillett, the Honda Civic.
Yeah, I think Nicola started the car there. The pairing from Leicestershire. Peter were on the board of the 750 Motor Cup as well. The 888 cars just going back out into the race, conceivably for our commentary box. That was started by Jason Henner for the Renault Megane. So it may well be Graham Price aboard that car now, although they could have left the same driver in it, of course.
Cole Swift's lapped everybody up to 14th now, I think. He's gone through to complete 24 laps. And I see the M2 is trying to come back out the pits again. But the second place battle's up at Murray's. Oh, and off is Rushworth. Ben Rushworth is off the road at Hamilton. Looks like he might have pulled off. He's so far off the circuit.
I would say so. No, he was in 5th position, wasn't he? Having fought his way through from a pit lane start. 92, by the way, going back out into the race. So that had been into the pits. That's the Phil Knibb and Andrew Rath car. But yeah, Ben getting out of the Corton Miller prepared Seat Leon car out of the race. That's at the sort of straight on at Hamilton, isn't it, really, where that car's coming to a stop.
Here's second and third. Just the Ginetta G40 between the battle now. Will Stacey versus Andy Schultz. The gap was 1.1 seconds at the start of the lap. And remember, Schultz started way back on the grid. So he continues to progress up there. Over half a minute now, though, behind the race leader, Cole Swift.
Just looking at the lap times, I'm told it has started raining now at the hairpin. The times don't appear to have dropped off very much yet from the best lap times drivers have done. So there's the 66 car, which is the Hazen Subiani car, and that is a lap ahead of the Nicola Gillett, Peter Gillett Honda Civic, just behind it already.
Cole Swift, I think, is in this group, just lapping the Class B leaders. And Class B gap there, 1.9 seconds now between Matt Fazy and Luke Handley, then 2 seconds back to Chris Freeman. So top three in Class B are separated by very little as they make their way to complete 24 laps of racing. It's 25 for the overall leader. And the two area gulfs now are right together, actually, as they cross the line. Handley ahead of Freeman by 0.4 of a second as they head into Ritchie's corner in that group of cars that are turned their way through. So that's quite the battle. And you see there, Jonathan Packer's dropped a long way behind. He was in that battle at one time, but he's dropped away from his two teammates.
Yeah, about 9 seconds behind them. Actually, a bit more than that, 13 seconds behind Chris Freeman.
Out of a second into Ritchie, they're watching outside the commentary box window. Will Stacey versus Andy Schultz, 0.8 of a second. The gap there now. Here are those area gulfs, though, battling for second and third in Class B. And good effort there from Luke Handley. Just put a back marker between himself and the chasing car of Chris Freeman, so that's just going to help out. And just up the road, you can see the Porsche Cayman that leads Class B, Matt Fazy in Steve Hewson's machine. Just going past the Ben Rushworth car. He's out the car. Ben Rushworth out of the race after what was a very good stint up to that point. Don't know obviously what the problem was, but that's a retirement, which is obviously a real shame for him, for the team, and for his co-driver James Ramsden as well. He didn't get a go in the race.
Chris Freeman there on screen, third in class, just about half a second behind his area motorsport teammate Luke Handley. They're over number 51. They're both about 3 seconds behind the Houston.
Ooh, and Stacey's off.
Oh wow!
Same part of the track, up at Hamilton.
So that's 2 for runners. It looks like he's going to get back onto the circuit though. So it looked like that was an off rather than a sort of pull off for Stacey.
Is that car leaking something, or was it just a load of dust coming out of the car?
Not sure. Just try and get a view of it as it comes through Williams.
It doesn't look like it's handling well.
It doesn't, does it? So
Again, could just be dust on the tyres.
yeah, it could be cause or effect, couldn't it, as a result of the off there at Hamilton. But nevertheless, that's delayed that car. So Schultz would have got through then to second place, and it's a question of then how far ahead Will Stacey is of Mark Grice in the number 27 Audi RS3 TCR car.
Yeah, just saw that still behind, so he's still in third. The car does look up to speed now. Andy Schultz had got quite close to him, so whoever he was trying to go through, and that's what caused all that. We don't know, we didn't see it at the time. But there is Will Stacey, now in third position. Does he stay out? Does he pit? I suppose this is not a bad time to pit if he doesn't think all is well with the car, but he stays out, which says to me he thinks the car's okay. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have headed into the pit lane and used it as one of their mandatory stops.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, but yeah, it cost him 12 seconds. Slow lap as well, actually, from Mark Grice in the 209s that time, so he's still 4 seconds behind Stacey.
Fifth and sixth we saw they were quite close. Andy Marston and Liam Bidway. Bidway in the Lotus Exige coming back at the M3 that passed him earlier.
This is the 44 car on screen. That's Stuart Dayburn in the Lotus Exige Cup R car. That's in 19th position at the moment. Stuart Dayburn, who we've seen racing TVR Tuscans in the past.
Yeah, it's a really nice looking Exige, that car as well, that they've got out this weekend. I think we saw that car debut about here a year ago, I think.
Yeah. That's another Exige, 32 Leon Bidway, still running in 6th position. So going pretty well here. The driver from Blackwood, 1.8 litre engine in that car.
They both just lapped Scott Parkin, who's not going as well as we've seen earlier in the season for his Golf. I wonder if he's made a pit stop because he's... Oh no, sorry, he's 18th. I've seen where he is on the screen. So he's what, 5th in class, something like that?
Yeah, 5th in Class B, yeah. So
But
I don't think he's made a stop yet though.
He finished second last time out at Spa in Class B. And he's third in the Class B Championship.
Has he got a problem though? I just thought he might be looking like he was about to pull off there.
Now the rain's reached here because there's spots of rain on our window, but is it just small spots this time rather than the heavier rain we had, an hour, 2 hours ago, whenever that was?
Looks that way at the moment, doesn't it? So I don't think that's going to be too much of a concern for the teams at this stage of the race. We come up to the 1 hour gone mark in the race. So teams that are possibly looking to split the race into 3 even chunks will be putting around about now. Not had too much in the way of pit lane activity in terms of scheduled stops so far though.
38 seconds is Cole Swift's lead now over Andy Schultz, and there's 18 seconds back to Mark Grice. So where's Will Stacey got to? Is he pitting his Lotus Elise because he hasn't come through? Yes, Will Stacey for the pit lane after that off 1 lap ago.
And the 120 car is out of the race, I think. That is the Matthias Radstock, Jason McNulty Lotus Elise. It's just pulled into the paddock. You can see it parked over there in Parc Ferme actually at the moment.
Okay, so a bit of drama. And here's the battle for what is now 4th position. Liam Bidway goes right round the outside of Andy Marston. They can't dip down there as he aggressively changed gear, but the BMW's got the power. Liam Bidway's got the line though as they go into Palmer, but he can't go through. Andy Marston holds on for now.
William Stacey getting the track limits warning flag, the black and white flag. We saw him go off the circuit at Hamilton a couple of laps ago.
And now in the pit lane, so whether all is well with that car, perhaps Kieran will be able to find out.
Yeah, it'd be good to find out what's going on with the Rob Boston Racing Lotus down there, which William Stacey has started. 66 has been in, so that's one of the front-running cars in Class C. Hayes and Subiani, so they have made the first of their stops. So Class C now being led by Baptiste and by Oswick and O'Sullivan, up to 26, with all the cars having made their stops. Second, Baptiste and Hartland, and third is still is now actually Dougal and Munro. No, big one. Russell McKean is still there in third within that class.
Battle for 4th into the S's here Andy Marston still ahead of Liam Bidgeway. An hour into the contest, they're working the 28th lap of the race. A little breathe of a look up the inside from Liam Bidgeway. It comes to nothing though, but he's good on the exit up towards Coram. The BMW sits there on the apex, has to tap the brakes a couple of times just to bring the speed down as they go through that long Coram curve. But for Liam Bidgeway, can he find some space? I don't think he can to get ahead of Andy Marston. The car in second place though, Andy Schultz, had a slow last lap, 2 minutes 13. Wonder what that might have been all about. That means the lead gap's up to over 45 seconds.
Yeah, and we've just gone past the 1 hour mark in this race, so let's give you a quick rundown on the order as things stand. It's being led by number 1, that's Carl Swift and Rob Baker. From number 69 in second, Matthew Hampson and Andy Schultz. In third place, number 27, William Beach and Mark Rice. Fourth, 37, Andy Marston and Brett Evans. Fifth, number 32, Leon Bidgeway. Sixth, number 11, Ryan Parkin and Daniel Sylvester. Seventh, number 15, Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver. Eighth, number 6, Matthew and Simon Wallace. Ninth, number 13, the Class B leaders, Steve Houston and Matt Fazy. And 10th, number 51, Luke Handley. Second in Class B. Third in Class B in 11th overall is number 14, Chris Freeman. As far as Class C is concerned, that's being led by number 53, Joel Oswick and Dan Asano. From 98, Roy Baptiste and Tim Hartland. And third, the 121 car, David Russell and Ed McKee. And that's the order with an hour of the race gone.
Looks like we might have lost the BS Motorsport Mazda MX-5. That hasn't done a lap for a little while. Ben Short started the car that he shares with Ben Hansey, which will be a shame. That supercharged MX-5. There's Liam Bidgeway still battling away with Andy Marston, and Will Stacey's at least comes out the pit lane. Not sure if Rob Boston's got into it or Will Stacey's staying out to let Rob do the final stint. But that car has done its pit stop then and has gone back out of the race in 20th position. Now that was a 6-minute lap, which would suggest to me maybe it's slightly over 3 minutes of a pit stop.
Yeah, I mean that's...
but then they've got that 20-second penalty though as well, haven't
69 has got the black and orange mechanical warning flag now. That's significant. That's the second place car. Andy Schultz at the wheel at the moment. It's shared with Matt Hampson, but the BMW, the orange car, now getting the big orange spot on the black and orange flag. So a mechanical issue for that car the driver may not be aware of. He's going to have to come into the pits to get that checked over by one of the scrutineers. And
they had that slow lap a lap ago. Meanwhile, across the line for fourth place, Andy Marston and Liam Bidgeway squeezed between two back markers, which was quite the moment. But I think Marston's been able to hang on ahead of Bidgeway in all of that. But that was all quite spectacular stuff. Almost 4 cars abreast for a moment.
Yeah, they're heading up towards the Wilson hairpin now to battling for fourth, and the car behind, which is the Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster Ginetta G40 that was also involved yesterday. Obviously it's boot lid and the rear wing assembly in the road sports race. It's all fixed up today, and the other car that was involved in that exciting moment was the Nicola Gillett Honda Civic Type R. But there's the 37 car, Marston and Evans, the BMW ahead of 32, Liam Bidgeway, one of the drivers going solo in this 3-hour race, a gruelling 3-hour race for those drivers that are doing the whole thing on their own.
Yep, and Bidgeway, was he slow in there out of Hamilton? The Ginetta's re-caught him, which shouldn't really have happened. So has Liam Bidgeway got an issue? The car's back up to speed now, I think, so perhaps all is okay. But the Ginetta's just really quick through the infield.
It could well be, actually. I mean, it's the number 8 car, it's a Class B car, so not quite so well equipped on a power to weight ratio basis, but nevertheless some of these Class B cars can be pretty nimble, can't they, through the more technical sections. 44 car I can see going back out into the race. That's David Trigg and Stuart Dayburn. Stuart Dayburn started the car, but it may well be now David Trigg that's at the wheel.
And Liam Bidgeway back up to speed, I think, although a little bit further behind Andy Marston than what he once was. So they're not 100% confident that all is well there. The Audi's into the pits. Mark Grice is pitting the car out for 3rd position.
I think we could be about to see something that could trigger a few pit stops. I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on out of the window beneath me. But we possibly have some cars that need recovering. Into the pits comes Bidgeway there, 32. So that was the car from 5th position.
So whatever all is well, like I questioned that, not sure.
And the safety car is being called. Safety car boards are being shown from the start line gantry beneath me. Yellow flags being waved all around the circuit then, and the safety car is being brought into action for the first time in this race with an hour and 55 minutes to go. And I'm sure this will trigger, Josh, quite a few pit stops.
Yeah, everybody will be pitting who hasn't pitted.
Possibly some of those that have, but that you do be confident that you could get to the end on fuel, I suppose.
Yeah, if you think you can do 2 hours on a tank. There's the Andy Schul's car that's been getting the black and orange flag. Race leader into the pits, by the way. Not sure yet what the problem there was. Not convinced either to have only orange before the safety cars come out.
No. So we'll see if we can pick up on. We know obviously there's the Ben Rushworth car, but that's been there for about 10 laps now or something, hasn't it? Certainly a good few laps. I don't think there's any other cars that have stopped out on circuit. I don't know if our producer can see if he can find any. 121 car is in. That's from 3rd within Class C. So that's David Russell for their mandatory stop.
All the Class B leaders coming in all together. Now, which ones of them have got success penalties? Because they lose out here. Jonathan Packer's got 10. Christopher Freeman's got 10, but Luke Handley's got 30. So Luke Handley's going to lose positions here. There's debris, quite a lot of it, down at Murray's. So whether that's triggered anything. Now, is that part of Andy Schul's car?
Could be, couldn't it? And that might explain why you also saw the black and orange flag then, if there's bits falling off it.
See Cole Swift sprinting down the pit lane. I know onto the pit wall, I think. That's Cole. I'm not sure what that was all about.
Yeah, not quite sure what's going on there, but lots of activity in the pit lane at the moment.
Is he keeping an eye on the time, the official time? There, yeah, there is Schulz's car. It's very damaged. The front left corner of that car is gone. So I think that perhaps is why the safety car.
I did see some trim hanging off that car in the early stage of the race, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. But possibly that was more serious than I initially thought, and the whole of that power has come away.
It might be rubbing on the tyre as well. We saw that slow lap, so perhaps that's when it happened.
Yeah.
Your Will Stacey's back in, so this is the second stop then for the Rob Boston Racing team. So are they going to try and do 2 hours on a tank?
Yeah.
Or is there a problem?
Well, there's no immediate move to do any work on the car, is there? Or to do a driver change or anything like that. But
the safety car's not going to have a very long train of cars, because obviously most of the cars are in the pits.
yeah, very busy pit lane, running out of space. The area motorsport team, sorry, not the area motorsport, the Darkside development team, trying to find a spot for number 12 to get into. That's the Scott Parkin Golf, the Yorkshire driver.
But there's no fuel gone into the Lotus yet, and now the rear engine cover comes off, so maybe not all well there for Will Stacey. Remember, he did have that off-track excursion earlier.
27 cars gone back out into the race. That's the Grice and Beach Audi TCR, the RS3. That's gone back out into the race, and Leon Bidgeway too is heading back out onto the circuit, just in front of the safety car train, which is coming back round.
One car that hasn't pitted is Ryan Parkin, so he's taken the lead of the race.
Safety car lights are out, so it looks like it's... Is that going to be it? Is the safety car coming back in? Is the race going to get back underway? Yeah, green flag's waved. So a very brief safety car interlude, and the race getting back underway then here at Snetterton with an hour and 51 minutes to go. I think the safety car was only out for about 4 minutes there, so I think it's about a lap that it has done, and the race getting back underway. So anyone that was thinking, well, I'll do my safety car pit stop on the next lap is going to be disappointed, because it's back out into the race.
Yeah, so Ryan Parkin, the leader, and I don't think he ever got caught up behind the safety car. Second is number 6, Matthew Wallace, who did. Then third is 67, Julian McBride. And now, out of the pit lane, the first of the stoppers is Rob Baker in the car that Cole Swift started.
Yeah, 6 minutes off, so that's interesting, because that was only sort of 3 minutes 56 seconds longer than a normal lap for them, and they had to be stationary for 3.5 minutes, didn't they? So
they didn't lose much time.
They didn't lose much time at all. Very, very efficiently done.
there's a huge water bottle going into the back of the Lotus Elise, the Rob Boston racing car. I think I can spot, so I don't think that Lotus is as healthy as they'd like it to be.
Yeah, overheating issues perhaps. So, hour and 50 to go. Bit of a different complexion to this race now, with a majority of the teams now having made their first stops. There's the Schultz car that's getting back out into race. Hopefully a scrutineer has checked that he's happy with the tank tape arrangement on that car. Now, is that Schultz or Hampson that's back out in that?
I think it would be Hampson. That's an amazing amount of fluid that's been put into the Lotus, because that bottle, more than 2 litres, I would suggest that the mechanics have just put in. Phil Driver's got aboard the Colin Gillespie Seat, I think. So that car is going to go back out.
A bit of congestion there because they're trying to negotiate their way past the Chris Webster, Matthew Tidmarsh, Janetta as well. Very congested pit lane. All the drivers have to pull in at 45 degrees to the pit garages and then be pushed back out and then drive into the live lane of the pit lane again.
A few more spots of rain on the commentary box windows. Again, only very light, I think, which shouldn't make any effect to the track unless it gets harder. So there's Matthew Hampson, and he came out a minute behind Rob Baker, but ahead of probably Will Beach taking over from Mark Rice. That debris still there at Murray's.
Yeah. So there must have been something else that precipitated the safety car.
I wonder if it's something that then got cleared quickly, or it will by itself, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
There's the Andy Martin and Brett Evans car. They're behind. Oh, he got there. He's sideways there. You see the big black lines left. The car in front of it is a car that hasn't stopped. Matthew Wallace second in the race.
Yeah. So, and Julian McBride is the other non-stopper, isn't he? So Ryan Parkin, Matthew Wallace, Julian McBride, 3 non-stoppers effectively at this moment. There's Carl Swift and Rob Baker. Rob Baker right now is in the middle of the car, actually in 4th position, despite the fact they've made a stop that was effectively the equivalent of pretty much 2 laps.
The Matt Fahey and Steve Hewson car leads Class B now by 11 seconds because of Christopher Freeman's penalties. And Luke Handley's lost even more time, obviously. He's 3rd, though, still in Class B. 4th, Jonathan Packer. And 5th is the Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster Mazda Class C. That's still headed by Joel Oswick and Dan Osano. 2nd, Roy Baptiste and Tim Hartland. And 3rd, Johnny Hayes and Paul Saviani.
Yeah, so they've got ahead of Russell and McKean, haven't they? And Russell and McKean had a long stop, an 8-minute 12 lap. So that's just a longer than scheduled stop for them.
But that could have been stuck behind the safety car as well.
Could have been, yeah. So a safety car and a pit stop on the same lap. Yeah, that would have cost them some time, clearly. Yeah, Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver, that was nearly an 8-minute lap as well. So I think they probably had a similar thing. So it's 11 Ryan Parkin that's leading, 6 Matthew Wallace in 2nd, and 67 Julian McBride in 3rd position for the moment.
So Will Stacey and Rob Boston's car is 23rd. And it has done 2 3-minute pit stops, but whether they need to make another one for some fuel. But they didn't even bother to put any fuel into it, which is interesting.
No.
That car has actually just gone through shots. So that's going to be one to watch its lap times. The last lap wasn't very quick, even for an out lap, which is concerning, I would have thought.
Rob Baker's just gone through his first flight lap since the pit stop to the 207.86. It's actually lapping faster than the 3 cars ahead of it, which are as yet unstopped. And Matthew Hampson, I think, has done his first flying lap as well, possibly much slower than what we'd seen by Andy Schultz.
Yes, he's already been passed by Will Beach. So Will Beach 2nd of the stoppers. 3rd of the stoppers, Hampson. 4th, Ridgway, and 5th, Marston and Evans. See here the 888 car. The Renault Megane of Graham Price and Jason Hennifer. The 2-litre RS 250 is prepared by Pure Track, Graham Price, the car owner. And we pick up in this group. Is that where Rob Baker is, I think, the area motorsport boss?
Yeah, he's there, isn't he, in the number 1 car. Still picking his way through the traffic.
Over a minute ahead of the Will Beach and Mark Grice Audi.
Yes, so that bodes well for him. That time through, Matthew Hampson's done a 2-minute 13 lap compared to the 2-minute 5s that Andy Schultz was doing. So that's a car that's going to drop down the order, one would suspect, because Leon Bidgeway only about 4 seconds or so behind it and lapping 4 seconds or so a lap faster.
BMW Compact's been in again. The Jones and Gadsby car, they're 39th. And
yeah, that was another long stop as well, wasn't it?
yeah, 12 minutes that lap, so yeah, I thought that was unusual. Now, carbon wiper on there, 481, so is there a bit more rain out there possibly? That's the Edward Christian Andy Gay BMW M3. Let's find out what's happening down there in the pit lane.
Down here at the 69 garage, and
Chance I would.
Schultz, Andy, you brought in on a mechanical, then the safety car came out. That was a bit perfect timing, wasn't it?
It would have been, yeah. I was a bit concerned because I knew I could see some orange bodywork at the last turn, and I thought, oh no, what's happened? But I think it must have been clipped on the second lap up in turn 2, and that obviously started the thing, and then it just came off later on. But it was a bit awkward, but you know, it was a good time for a pit stop, so that's okay.
Absolutely, and they've taped it up what they can, and they've sent it back out. So what's your target from here?
Well, we're hoping that we can get the car through to the next pit stop, and I'll jump back in again. But we've got a couple of issues. It cut out twice, and had to restart it, and that's a real pain because you lose places again. And then we've got a bit of a vibration appearing again, so we've got to try and see if we can get it through a bit further. It felt like more than an hour, I can tell you out there.
Well, I'll have to keep an eye on you then, Andy. But perfect, thank you for speaking to us.
No problem at all.
It's back to the commentary box.
Thanks, Kieran. And interesting to hear there from Andy Schultz after his stint of an hour or so. Brought to a slightly premature end. Hour and 43 minutes remaining in this race for the Tagiwa Club Enduro Championship. It's being led at the moment by number 11 Ryan Parkin, by number 6 Matthew Wallace and 67 Julie McBride, but none of those cars have yet made their stop. The first of the stoppers is number 1 Rob Baker from number 27 Mark Grice and number 69 Matthew Hampson. As Class A cars now fill the first 8 places. Best of the Class B cars is the Porsche, Steve Houston and Matt Fazy. Chris Freeman in 10th position overall, second in Class B in the Golf. Black and white driving standards flag just being shown now to car number 99. That's Joe Williams, the driver of the Golf.
I've got a bit confused, and I've wondered if I've worked it out without needing assistance. 120 you saw in Park Ferme, didn't you?
Yes.
Well, they're in 23rd. I wonder if that's a relay car, right?
Yes.
Right, it's in the invitational class.
That would make sense. So Jason McNulty possibly out in a separate car. Yeah, that's a good call.
I did wonder why they were in the invitational class. That makes more sense. See the diesel Golf going through there. The Darkside Developments car. Scott Parker is 18th now in that car that finished second last time out at Spa. It's currently third in the class championship. Car, the 270 brake horsepower, 2-litre TDI engine. The ex-Volkswagen Cup car that's been converted to a diesel by those diesel experts at Darkside Developments. The driver, Scott Parkin, is 32 years of age from Barnsley. Been a race winner with the MSVT All Good series, and now stepping up into the Club Enduro Championship for this year. And there is his brother's car that leads the race. That's Ryan Parkin, the Audi TT that runs the 2-litre TFSI engine, 2017 car. Also obviously run by Darkside Development. Ryan's 32 years old because he's Scott's twin brother, and he's been racing since 2018.
And he's sharing with Daniel Sylvester today. It's Ryan Parkin. Previously he's been sharing with Adam Blair, British Formula 3 Championship driver. But Daniel Sylvester, who raced yesterday in the MR2s with some podium finishes for the first time. So he'll be buoyed by that success, I'm sure, when he gets into the car for the second part of the race.
Another place lost for Matthew Hampson. Liam Bidway has moved up into 6th. So Hampson's down to 7th and being caught by Andy Marston and Brett Evans, his car.
Yes, absolutely. So they are all on their 36th lap. The 3 leaders have already completed 36 laps, but they've yet to make a stop. And actually, Carl Swift and Rob Bacon out the wheel. They are also now on the same lap as the leaders, 36 laps in the book, but about 3/4 of a lap behind Parkin. But that will soon get overturned when those 3 cars have to make their mandatory stops. First of 2 mandatory stops.
There's car number 15. That's Colin Gillespie, now Phil Dryborough. They're in 14th. Phil Dryborough, who raced in British GT and Aston Martin in the past. But nowadays been racing Club Enduro, and he's had a number of cars out in this, but now he's sharing with Colin Gillespie in this Seat 14th position, half a minute behind Jonathan Packer. So some time to find. I think they've been a bit unlucky because obviously started from the pit lane, but then they got caught up behind the safety car before they made their pit stop. So they lost some time, where most others don't think lost too much.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
There's Matthew Wallace,
second place, just going past the 999 Honda, isn't it?
Yeah, just 8 seconds ahead of Julian McBride, who's going quite well. The 54-year-old from Oxfordshire in 3rd position in his M3. The Jeff Steele racing car, 2nd for the Wallaces in their area motorsport Seat. And the Mazda's in the garage.
Okay, so that's a retirement by the looks of it for John Munro and Nick Dougal.
So both the TWP cars you can see in there. You said the Lotus didn't even make the start.
I think they've been there for a while because they've only completed 26 laps. The leaders have now completed 37 laps. So yeah, TWP come out of the race, unfortunately. There's the 117. That's the BMW Compact. That's running in 38th position after 2 stops. They've completed 29 laps, so 8 laps behind the leaders now.
There was a green flag waving in the background. How was that Murray's, or is it further around the circuit? Oh, that's potentially white. It's a Jason McAnulty Lotus that's off. That's on the exit of Nelson. So yeah, that Lotus turned white, and now with a different car. So perhaps down there in the pit lane, they might be needing to get the Matthias Radstock car ready again, because the relayed car was stopped. Jason McAnulty's not really been out there for very long.
It's not, no, not a terribly long amount of time, but it looks like the car has expired on him nevertheless. So yellow flags being waved at that marshal's post at the bomb hole. The marshal's post, I was at some marshalling many years ago. That's the 27 car going through then, the car that's in 5th position but effectively 2nd once the 3 leaders make their stops. That's Will Beach and Mark Grice. They are 1 minute and 13 seconds behind Carl Swift and Rob Baker, and falling further behind actually because they had a slow lap that time for a 2:08.27, and they are a little way ahead of Leon Bidgeway, so they've got some wriggle room.
Yeah, there's a gap of 22 seconds back to Bidgeway.
He was also doing a slow lap actually, 2:11.95. I don't know if that's just the traffic or excuse me, something else.
Behind them there's been a change for 7th because Brett Evans has got ahead of Matthew Hampson. A change for position there. So Hampson down to 8th. 38 laps done by Ryan Parkin, the race leader. 2nd is Wallace and 3rd is McBride. The 3 cars still yet to make this first stop, showing how long a car can go in a tank of fuel here.
10-second penalty now for car 28. Well, that's one of the Irish drivers, Andrew Stewart, in his Honda Civic Type R. So that'll be to add the 5 seconds he's already picked up. So he's been further infringing the track limits there.
There is Matthew Hampson, about to be lapped, I think, by Matthew Wallace. He did a quick lap last lap, 2:08.0, almost as quick as he's gone during the stint. Which shows the pace as the car gets lighter on fuel.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's the 92 car. You can just see going through shot there. That's just ahead of the Beach and Grice car. So that is on its 37th lap. Beach and Grice car is on its 38th. So yeah, that's about to be lapped once again.
Of course, that car lost out because it made an early pit stop, pitting when the safety car wasn't out, so it would have lost a bit of time there. The Phil Nib and Andrew Raff car that runs in 12th position, then over the Seat Leons.
We're not far away from the halfway point of this race now. Only 5 minutes left to go before we get to the 90-minute to go mark. Give you another rundown on the positions at that stage. Patel going through, and the RF Motorsport BMW as well.
Saw Liam Bidrow there, who noticed made a slower last lap. Might have been to do with traffic. Let's see what the next lap's like. A 2:11 last time, a 2:07 that time, so much better. So that car's going well, up in 6th position, 5 seconds ahead of Andy Martin and Brett Evans, E46 M3.
Ed McKean and David Russell, they've now got the black and white driving standards flag as well because of track limits infringements. That's the car that's in 3rd place still in Class C. The BMW 328. And there is the black and white flag going out to them to repeat the message on the electronic gantry above the pit lane.
Will Stacey and Rob Boston's car's just gone through. That car is back up to speed, 2:06 on the last lap, which is as quick as anybody else is going out there. Car that has made 2 pit stops, and they're in 21st position overall as it stands. 999 here, that's the Ricky Cumber and Mark Simmons Honda Civic, one of the newer cars, the SK2 I think that is. Car that raced with the Creventic organisation in Europe. Endurance races, 12 and 24-hour races. Cars done in the past. I think out in Dubai, David Drinkwater raced that, who we've see regularly at 750 Motor Club meetings. And that's about to be passed potentially by the Volkswagen Sirocco, that Nürburgring 24-hour specification car. The John Maudsley and Stuart Mead car that is running in 23rd position. That's actually a battle for position because Cumber and Simmons are 22nd. So you've got John Maudsley there, who's a 71-year-old from Wirral. He's been racing for 50 years. Former Volkswagen Golf champion. Shown with Stuart Mead, who's a former European Supercar champion out in that car. Trying to get past the Honda. They're side by side now for 22nd position in the race, and the Volkswagen Sirocco goes through. The Saxon Motorsport run car then gains a place.
Certainly does, getting the advantage of the Civic Type R for the drivers from Maidstone. They've got the quicker car behind them now, the 117 of Gadsby and Jones, which is just trying to unlap itself really.
I think the leader might be in the pit lane. Ryan Parkin hasn't completed his latest lap.
He is. It is Ryan Parkin into the pit lane now from the lead of the race. So we'll see where he filters back in after all of this. 3-minute stop that he has to make, of course. He has got actually 3-minute 20-second stop to make, which has got an extra 20-second penalty as well. Can't quite see from here whether he's handing over to Daniel Sylvester or not, but I can't see anyone with a mullet out there in the pit lane, so presumably that means that Daniel's got his helmet on as he's perhaps getting in the car. Pretty much halfway through the race.
Yeah, that's right. So it's Matthew Wallace now that leads the race by 13 seconds over Julian McBride. There's Ryan's brother, Scott Parkin, is 18th still. There's the Class B leader, Steve Hewson and Matt Fazy, and they're really being caught by Chris Freeman, because remember that gap went over 10 seconds because of the success penalties, but Freeman's been catching him. The gap was 3.9 seconds after the previous lap. They now complete 39 laps, and Chris Freeman is 3.6 seconds behind, a slightly quicker lap again. There he is, car number 14, second in class.
Absolutely. those threatening skies never really came to anything, did they? It's still grey and overcast out there, but it doesn't look like it's threatening rain imminently. And I think the forecast was to actually get brighter as we got closer towards the end of this race as well.
Depends what forecast you looked at, really.
It did, to be fair. So coming up towards the 90-minute mark in this race, the erstwhile leader has gone in, but still Matthew Wallace is out there, still Julian McBride is up there. Of course, Julian McBride's going solo, so he doesn't need to worry about handing over to another driver, but he's still got 2 pit stops to make. Matthew Wallace will hand over to brother Simon. Both of them used to race in the Mark 2s and then in Type Rs as well after that in Civics. But racing this Seat these days. Right, we've had 90 minutes of the race now, so let's give you a quick rundown on the order. It's number 6 leading, that's Matthew Wallace and Simon Wallace. Second is number 67, that's Julian McBride. In third place, number 1, Carl Swift and Rob Baker. Fourth, number 27, Will Beach and Mark Grice. As Carl Swift has now gone into the lead of the race, which has got past Julian McBride, and Matthew Wallace I think has come into the pit, so I'll give you that rundown again. Number 1 now leads Carl Swift and Rob Baker. 67 Julian McBride second. 6 Matthew Wallace and Simon Wallace third. 4th 27 Will Beach and Mark Grice. 5th number 32 Leon Bidgeway. 6th number 37 Andrew Marston and Brett Evans. 7th number 69 Matthew Hampson and Andy Schultz. 8th number 11 Ryan Parkin and Daniel Sylvester. 9th number 13 Steve Houston and Matt Facey. They lead Class B. Second in Class B and 10th overall is number 14 Chris Freeman. Third in Class B and 11th overall is number 51 Luke Handley. And then in Class C, that's being led by Joel Oswick or Dan Osano, which is ever does. In number 53, they're 26th overall from number 98 Roy Baptiste and Tim Hartland in their BMW. And third in Class C, still the 1-2-1 car, David Russell and Ed McKean, but they're only about 11 seconds clear of Hayes and Subiani. There's the former leader of the race, number 11, Ryan Parkin and Daniel Sylvester, about to head back out into the race, but the new race leader now, Josh, is Carl Swift and Rob Baker.
Yeah, so that's what we were expecting when the others pitted, as they have done now. Class B leader here, heading into Palmer. Steve Hewson and Matt Fazer. They're going to lap Scott Parkin's Golf, which is a car they battled with back at Donington Park at the end of the year, but here around Snetterton, the Golf, they're not so fast, but it is Hewson and Fazer that lead the class. They finished second earlier in the season at Donington. Had an accident at Spa, so they've had to repair the car over the last 3 weeks or so, but they've done that and the car going well again. The 2017 2-litre turbo Porsche Cayman that's backed by Intelligent Money. Both the drivers in that car former champions, Matt Fazy and Steve Hewson, driving different machinery in the past.
So 42 laps completed now by our race leaders, Carl Swift and Rob Baker. We see the 13 car of Steve Hewson and Matt Fazy go through, and the 69 car, is that in problems again?
It's a bit slow there.
It was Matthew Hampson. That was just on the exit of Wilson Hairpin.
We heard Andy Schultz was saying the car was cutting out, and in fact he's just done that again. The last lap, Hampson did a pretty good lap at 2:09, but it's not going to be so good if a car slows.
So here's the Class B leagues then, Hewson and Fazy, and that's Intelligent Money sponsored car.
They're second, catching Chris Freeman.
They are. What's the gap between those two at the start of the lap? It was, I'm trying to look, at 2.4 seconds or something like that. It looks like it's a bit less than that now, doesn't it? As the number 6 car, the Matthew Wallace and Simon Wallace car, gets back into the race, the area Motorsport run vehicle.
1.4 seconds is the new gap. There's Freeman, a solo driver, halfway through the race. He's got as much to do basically as he already has done. Is catching what we presume now is Steve Hewson aboard the Cayman. So what can Chris Freeman do here? He's having a really good run in the area Motorsport Volkswagen Golf. His best result so far this season came at Croft, which was a 3rd place. He raced a Civic in the past and went well in that. Down into Agostini's. Very different cars, these. Well, they're both 2-litre cars. Oh, and a big lose there for the Rob Boston and William Stacey Lotus. Is something broken on the car, perhaps? That was heading up towards Coram. It's awful at the beginning of the Coram, I think the driver's not wanting to continue. So I think something has broken now on the Lotus Elise that was running in 21st position.
So I wonder if that might need a recovery as well from where it's come to rest. It's on the inside of the approach to Coram, a little way off the edge of the circuit, but nevertheless the officials might want to do something about that. Here's the Hewson and Fazy car, still being chased for the Class B lead though by Chris Freeman.
Coming down ever more, I would suggest.
Yeah, 1.4 seconds you said it was at the beginning of the lap, looking like a bit less than that now, I'd think. As they head through, they've gone past that incident, and there are yellow flags there waving at the marshal's post before Coram, and green flags then pretty much at the midpoint of that long right-hander. So these cars close together again, 1.4 seconds was the gap between them. Up and over the line they come again.
So close now, you don't need a stopwatch really, do you? So they turn into Ritchie's together. They're now 6th and 7th overall, these two Class B cars.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 2:10.37 that time for Chris Freeman, and a 2:11.32 for Hewson and Fazy. Is that Julie McBride, I think, who's been into the pit lane and go back out again?
There's another slow Lotus up at Coram, that's Liam Bidway, who is running in 3rd position. But Liam Bidway slow, I can see out the commentary box window, heading down towards Murray's. Class B lead battle continues. There's a white flag on the other side of the track as well.
Yeah, there is, just behind us. We've now got a safety car coming out as well, so we'd know we've got the Rob Boston Racing lease off. There's the Bidgeway car that's going slowly as well.
I think that the longest that car's got though, we've had problems before, so
yeah.
going well.
Yeah, hour and 37 minutes into the race.
The Jonathan Packer's pitted immediately, the driver 3rd in Class B, which could be a shrewd move. Well, this safety car period you'd think might be a touch longer than the last one.
Right, I can see a medical car heading out through the paddock as well, so possibly that's needing to attend to somebody as well. So safety car at the moment here at Snetterton in this Giwa Club Enduro Championship race. There's a slow car that's been, I think it was a slow car, so probably fair enough for the other cars to pass it, but we do have yellow flags and safety car boards all around the circuit now. So what was a decent battle for the Class B lead, that will have to, for the moment, sort of fall back into line. There is the safety car out on circuit, and it's picked up, is that the 28 car? I think it's picked up, hasn't it? The Andrew Stewart Honda. So I should think we'll get a busy pit lane again, Josh.
Yeah, so Jonathan Packer the first person in, but 80 minutes, probably a lot of cars can do that, so I suspect everybody's going to be pitting, as you say.
Including the 12 car, that's in as well.
Those
Scott Parkin.
Rob Baker went through, perhaps that was before the safety car was called.
Yeah, medical car can see is heading up towards Coram as well. So
Driver's out.
drivers out of the car. We hope all is well up there at that part of the circuit. Bring you any news as we get it.
Tyre change potentially on here for Scott Parkin.
Yeah, that's right. Yellow flags then all around the circuit, and indeed from the start line as well, with the race being neutralised. So those cars that stay out on track will try to form up into Crocodile. 37 car though is in as well. That's the 3rd place car now, Andy Marston and Brett Evans, with a couple of retirements ahead of them. They've moved back up into that 3rd position.
Who did the safety car pick up in terms of the race leaders here?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I've seen a shot of that.
It is ooh, my goodness.
That was interesting from Chris Freeman. as he came out of Williams that time. Almost looked like he was going to get past the 13 car for a moment.
It looks like Baker's done 44 laps, everybody else has done 43, so I wonder if they've lucked in to the others being caught behind the safety car, or have the others come into the pits?
Well, we know that Marston and Evans had done. Yeah, Beach and Grice are in there as well.
So perhaps they've not lucked into this then, because they're going to have to do a slow lap behind the safety car. We'll see what happens. Okay.
Yes, and so they may well pit at the end of this lap. I think this safety car might be a bit more long-lived than the previous one.
Yeah, the previous one was really short.
Yeah, it was only one lap, wasn't it, really, behind the safety car?
So it couldn't be shorter, could it? That's
Well,
sure.
no. True.
So there goes Jonathan Packer. He might do well here out of Class B because he came in first. The others are still stuck behind the safety car, and he's come out. Has he on the same lap as them? No, a lap further back, but it could work out well for Jonathan Packer there, I think.
So we've not got to the position yet where the Rob Boston Racing Lotus is being recovered. There is now a recovery truck just pulling up next to it, I think, up there at Coram.
Well, the M2's coming back out the pit lane. That's had all those problems.
Not seen it for a little while, have we, I don't think.
You have a Crown Paints car.
Yeah, with the sort of colour swatches decorating.
Why is one car in the safety car train slowed right down?
That's a good question, Josh. 45 I should say, going back out into the race, so that's Arthur McMahon. Sometime Fiat Punto racer, I think. Also heading back out is 8, but that's nothing too much. And these cars below us in the pit lane now are going to have to wait for the safety car train to go past.
Here comes the race leader, Rob Baker. That Cole Swift with the headset on, i.e. not getting back into the car.
Might well be. Rob Baker's getting out.
Yeah, because he has to get out so they can refuel it. No one
That's
can be
true,
in the car.
yeah, so he's getting out, they'll refuel. No sign of him taking his helmet or anything off, though his helmet going to stand there with the extinguisher.
And the Audi, which is a lap behind at this stage, goes out of the pit lane. It's one lap itself, isn't it? So that's it could be interesting how it all works out.
Yes, so Matthew Wallace, or someone, so they've now made 2 stops, haven't they? Simon Wallace has gone back out into the race. So they've made 2 stops. Cody Chang 13th though.
And Rob Baker getting back into that Seat now. Are they going to change the tyres, or are they just checking the pressures? Marston Evans going back out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They'd stopped a few moments before, hadn't they? Safety car still running here at Snetterton.
Yeah, they're doing a tyre change on the Seat.
Possibly only the fronts.
And the rears don't have too much really, do on a front wheel drive car.
No.
They shouldn't wear too much. And there's the Lotus going onto the back of the flatbed.
Yeah, it's needed a full lift to get there. So that's possibly why we needed the safety car, because it was decided that the car couldn't just be pushed or towed out of the way. So efficient work being done by the recovery crews there to get that car recovered. 76 going back out into the race beneath us as well. So that is Michael Downey, the driver from Paddington, in the Porsche Boxster S. He's in 26th position, one of the Class B drivers. On screen you can see the safety car train heading through Agostini.
Chris Freeman's putting a load of fluid into his car. Is that a drinks bottle, I wonder?
Could be.
Or filling his drinks bottle up, anyway. She'll be needing to do the rest of the race.
Now and a quarter still to go. So, safety car is making its way out of the battery. There's a trio of cars coming relatively quickly through Coram.
They cars are pitted.
They are, yeah.
And the Will Stacey car's about to go behind the barriers, I think. So this might be the last lap behind the safety car.
Yeah, so hopefully all is well up there. That's where the safety car is. That's on the Bentley Straight at the moment, heading towards Brundle and Nelson. So it's the 3 cars that are just coming beneath us now. The 481 car of Edward Christie, the Colin Gillespie car involved as well.
This could be interesting. Who gets out first in Class B? Because the Steve Hewson, Matt Fazy Porsche is there. Also in the pit lane is Chris Freeman. Rob Baker's about to go back out into the race, still as the leader. completed one more lap than everybody else has done. And he's got some time to catch the pack while they're still behind the safety car. And the safety car sped up now. So I think the lead gap might be reduced potentially, but it's still going to be pretty big.
I think the safety car board's about to be put away.
Yeah, the safety car sped right up, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I think we're going to get the green flag when it comes back through, which it will do any moment.
And the Porsche Cayman's getting out ahead of Chris Freeman. Is there a red light in the pit? No, we can go out.
Yeah.
That gap's gone out. Some cars are coming into the pit, or coming out the pit lane as well. As the race does restart, green flag.
It does. So green flag is waved to get the race back in the way. There's Chris Freeman. Sorry, no, that's the Joe Williams car getting back out into the race, number 99. The safety car has peeled back in. The race then getting back underway with an hour and a quarter of the duration left to go.
Matthew Hampton and Andy Schulz are now second. Did they not pit?
Don't think they did.
Right. They're only 46 seconds behind, but perhaps they didn't think they could do it on one tank of fuel to the end, presumably. Yeah. But for Mark Grice and Will Beach, they're 70 seconds behind. I guess that's roughly what it was.
Yeah.
Then Ryan Park and Daniel Sylvester possibly only done one stop.
They've only done one stop so far, haven't they? They're in 4th position, but they're on the lead lap at least, as are Andy Marston and Brett Evans. So all of those 5 within 72 seconds of the race leader. As cars head back into Agostini hairpin at full speed for the first time for 10 minutes or so.
So in Class B, the Porsche is 7 seconds ahead of Chris Freeman. And then Luke Handley jumped Jonathan Packer in the stops, so he's 3rd now. Is that car still leading Class C? 53 it is.
Yeah, it is.
Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano.
Still the same top 3 actually, as it has been pretty much all race. Oswick and Orsano, Baptiste and Hartland. Then a bit of a gap back because there's cars, Class B cars between them, but Russell and McKean still there 3rd in that class. There is the 53 class leading BMW Crown Paints car, which is even more colourful than the 235 sister car.
That car leads Class C by 13 seconds last time across the line.
By no means certain of victory then, with an hour and a quarter or just under that to go. There's the 3rd place car within that class.
That's a lap down then, just right behind.
Yes, you're right, it is a lap down now. 3rd place car.
Right, so the Will Stacey car had the collapsed rear left corner. See that car making its way through the paddock, so that's why it had a dramatic spin.
Yeah, and a full left subsequently as well.
So a suspension failure or something like that. It's the Class C leader then, working their way through. Lead gap 40 seconds between Rob Baker and we think Matthew Hampson.
Yeah, that's right. Different lap times there because Rob Baker's first lap out of the pits.
Into Ritchie, 3rd and 4th, nose to tail. Mark Grice and Will Beach's Audi. He's got Daniel Sylvester in the Audi TT, really challenging them there.
Yeah, don't forget though that the 11 car's got to make another stop though, hasn't it, we think?
Yeah, good battle to watch anyway on the track.
Absolutely, but probably not ultimately for a realistic reflection of where they'll finish.
Yeah, so we think that probably the Audi's the 2nd stopper, and then the 3rd stopper will be the Marston and Evans car, which is only 5 seconds behind. So that's a gap really to monitor. Yes. Here is that battle on the road for 3rd as it stands. The Audi, the 2 Audis, very different cars. The RS3 Audi Sport built car from the factory, and then the Audi TT that's been developed recently by Darkside Developments, although originally for the Volkswagen Cup by a different team.
Slide Sports car, wasn't it, I think?
But great to see the TT out there. The 2-litre engine machine. Around the outside, Daniel Sylvester committing, and then has to cut back.
Yeah, to get past the McKean and Russell 328i. There's the Darkside Developments car. Absolutely magnificent.
The Gillespie Driver team are just on their PB. Personal best 206.65. And that battle for 3rd is now lapping the Class C leader through the S's. Down to Nelson they go. And slotting up with that extra power. The Williams Motor Company backed Audi RS3. Working lap 47 of the race. Minutes to go. So a lot of the drivers are on their last stint of the race, obviously, after making 2 stops. So it's going to be a long final slog there. And this battle is lapping 4 seconds a lap slower than the race leader, Rob Baker. Now is Andy Martin, Brett Evans catching? Yes, they're a second and a half quicker.
They were, weren't they, on that lap? The gap between 4th and 5th is 3.2 seconds now.
I can see Boston down there inspecting the damage. Will Stacey still at the wheel when it happened. And that car's not going to be coming back, I shouldn't think.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
So second or third, fourth and fifth all in one shot there. 2 Audis and the BMW.
Yeah, Marston and Evans BMW just in the back of shot there, coming out of Agostini. We'll see if the gap comes down again further. 3.12 seconds it was at the beginning of the lap.
At this stage, the Audi RS3 doesn't seem to have the pace, does it? Because now Rob Baker's in the 2 Ford, so he's going as quick as on those new tyres they put on, the new front tyres, going as quick as Cole Swift went in the early stages of the race.
Absolutely, he must have found a bit of clear track as well, you would think, to sort of assist him on his way there.
Yeah, because he sort of came out the pits just before the restart, didn't he? So that worked quite nicely for him.
Yeah.
Dan Sylvester's driving the Audi TT well. First time he's been out in race conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he got caught there behind the Radisson at Lotus, but then the RS3 is getting stuck behind the Exige as well. Matthew Hampton's doing good lap times at 2:08. Well, we don't think it made it second stop anyway.
Pretty sure it didn't. But I mean, I'll be happy to be proved wrong, but I don't think that car did stop again at this stage.
And it's the quickest we've seen drive that car in this race.
Yeah. We'll see if the lap times come down any further, we'll perhaps really start to question it. But no disrespect intended to Hampton. Right. Now, just about 3 seconds covering Beach and Bryce in 3rd, Parkin and Sylvester in 4th, and Marston and Evans in 5th positions as they came across the line to complete lap number 48. And that is the battle that we're looking at now. Also involved there is the 44 car of Dayburn and Trigg. Let's head down to the pit lane once again to Kieran McKinley.
I'm here outside the number 1 garage, the leaders of the race. I'm here with Carl Swift. Carl, it's been a hectic opening 2 hours. How have you made it?
Yeah, all right, we've got some issues. We've got a drinks issue and a radio issue, so it's hard work out there with no water and no comms, but it's going well. We've just put some new tyres on, so Rob should be able to punch a good lap in now and try and get the lap record, or at least the fastest lap for the extra point, so it's going good.
I'm sure our guys in the box will keep a track of that, see if your wish comes true. But yeah, it's looking a bit overcast at the moment. All eyes on the forecasts, or are you confident?
Yeah, we're okay in the wet and kind of hoping for the wet, really. It'll save tyres, and the car's good in the wet, so whatever happens, happens.
Perfect. Carl, thank you so much for the chat.
Thank you.
And it's back to you in the commentary box.
And just as you were talking to Carl there, Rob Swift did do a new fastest lap of the race at 2:04.37. So, yep, wish is coming true there for Carl Swift at the moment. 49 laps now completed, and an hour and 6 minutes or so to go in this race. Meanwhile, what's going on with this battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th? I'm not sure it's actually changed. I think, if anything, Marston and Evans, are they losing a little bit of time, Josh, to these two?
Let's see how this lap's gone through the traffic. I think certainly the Audi RS3's been pulling away, hasn't it? So that's interesting. Because on the first few laps after the restart, Little Beach, Mark Grice seemed to be losing time, and not on this lap. 2:07.7, 2:08.1 for Sylvester, and yeah, the M3 slower, 2:08.7.
Yeah, so it's now sort of more like 4 seconds or so between those 3 cars.
In Class B, CPUs and Matt Fazy lead by 7 seconds over Chris Freeman.
And then it's another 23 seconds back to Luke Handley in 3rd place within that class, isn't it? So that gap has elongated a little bit. In Class C, John Alswick and Dallas Ono nearly appearing on the first screen of our timing screen for the first time. They're up to 21st now in the number 53 car. They are ahead of Roy Baptiste and Tim Hartland, who are still plugging away there in 2nd place in the BMW 330. And David Russell and Ed McKean, who are a lap behind now in the 121 car in 3rd position in Class C, 25th place overall.
Here is that Andy Marston's Brett Evans car. Looks like Motorsport might have something to do with that car nowadays. It's really moving around, isn't it? I wonder if they change tyres or not.
Perhaps not on that evidence.
And with Swift and Baker, we know they certainly did, and they're pulling clear now, even more than they were before.
Another good lap from Rob Baker, 2:05.1 that time. So lapping sort of 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster than the cars behind. The only other car that's lapping in the sort of 2.6s at the moment is Colin Gillespie. And Phil Driver, I think, now is at the wheel of that car, isn't he? The number 15 car in 6th position. That was one of the cars that started from the pit lane. But yeah, no one else lapping in the sort of 5s and 6s there. Slow lap again from Matt Hampson to the 209s that time.
We heard Cole Swift saying that see if Rob Baker gets a lap record. I don't think any lap records have gone in this race, which is interesting. Last year it was a hot day here at Silverstone, but I think it was when Chris Boardman set his lap record. So your one says Cole Swift set the lap record.
Yes, it does. in July 21, 2:03.02. What lap time?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
Somebody somewhere has noted something down incorrectly.
Yeah. So watching there the Darkside Developments Golf go through.
The website says Chris Boardman.
Okay.
So
maybe it was just assumed it was Carl Swift. It's a lot of lap records and fastest lap for Carl.
Looks like Daniel Sylvester's re-caught the RS3. If anything, the M3 is getting closer again. Yeah, on this lap, or the previous lap, the slowest of the three was Beach and Grice. They're not catching Matthew Hampson, who's 25 seconds up the road.
No, not really. She thought they might do.
And going quickly now as well as the Phil Nibb and Andrew Rathcar have gone up to 7th. They're in the 207s. So I wonder if this is some teams that have changed tyre. Oh, there's a car off there. Let's see if we can get a shot of that. There's a car off the exit of Williams. All those cars were going past, I think. I don't think I'm seeing things. Maybe after 2 days of racing there might be. I know it's the Janetta that has been having a good race. Were 5th in class, Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster. They were battling with Scott Parkin, 0.2 of a second between them. There's Parkins. That was in front of this group where Chris Webster / Matthew Tidmarsh have had an off.
Yeah, back out into the race though, that Janetta has gone. Golf liveried car for Fine Tangerine Racing.
So here's the RS3 into Murray's. An hour just over to go. Still the M3 is sliding around the Evans and Marston car. The Gillespie and Driver team are 40 seconds behind this battle, so that's going to be a lot to catch. But there is still an hour to go, so to keep an eye on that because they've consistently been a couple of seconds a lap quicker on recent laps. Which if they can keep doing that for the rest of the race, they will be able to catch 40 seconds.
May well be able to. Coming up to the 2-hour mark in this race, 2/3 race distance. We'll give you a rundown on the order in a minute or so. But still, we've got the 2 Audis together here. 27 and 11 will Beach and Mark Rice and Ryan Parkin and Daniel Sylvester. And just getting past the Golf there, you can see the BMW in the background of Andy Marston and Brett Evans again, who's closing back in on the 2 cars ahead of him. So this is 2nd, 3rd sorry, third, fourth, and fifth positions that we're seeing being contested here. See if we're going to get any changes. 3 Williams they go now for the right-hander and Oggies. Bit of curb taken there by the first of the cars, that of Will Beach and Mark Grice, as they head through Oggies. About to head into Williams and on to back straight again. That's the 117 car. That's back up to 32nd place now. Mark Gadsby and Ian Jones after their various dramas in the early stages.
I think John Morton and Stuart Mead might be leading the Clubman Cup in the Volkswagen Sirocco, from what I can work out.
Yeah, they're 18th overall, aren't they, in car 63. Oh, and off. Well, that's the number 3 car of Nick Dougal and John Munro. That's at Murray's.
Well, they'd retired earlier.
Well, we had. Maybe they did for a time, but they're back out into race. So it's not at Murray's, is it? Or if they're going the wrong way around the circuit, they are.
Oggies, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then I think second in the Clubman Cup is Joel Oswick and Dan Osano, which is quite the feat in a Class C car. So from what so we lost Liam Bidgeway, he started from pole there. I think we've lost Steve Cheatham's Boxster.
We have somewhere along the way, haven't we? Didn't really see what happened to that, but that's obviously anticipated some time ago because they needed 25 laps and 52 now completed by the race leader. So we didn't see what happened to Steve Cheatham and David Hornsey.
And same for the Roses with their Civic. The Holden as well. The Holden, sorry, I missed that. That's 14th, isn't it? So that's the Clubman Cup leaders.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes, you're probably right, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be delighted if they can stay there. How much are they ahead? Quite a long way, a couple of minutes ahead of John Mosley and Stuart Mead.
So yeah, should be good there. That was another car that started from the pit lane as well, wasn't it?
They're not such a big entry in the Clubman Cup here at Snetterton compared to the previous rounds. Just watching on the screen is their battle for fourth. Daniel Sylvester versus the BMW, absolutely together. Yeah, the Clubman Cup. Have you got the championship in there? Who's leading that? I know it's been a bit mixed.
I do have that. Championship led by David Gooding and Nigel Greensall in the Jeff Steele Racing BMW. They're not here. Second, Steve Rockington and Restart, who were here but didn't start the race in the TWP racing car. And then Lewis Rose and Aaron Rose, the first of the cars that are here, that aren't continuing. So really then it's 19 points for Matty Taylor and Will Ashmore. So I think they'll take the championship lead if they continue to lead the race here.
They've got an hour to go yet.
Then it's Nick Dougal and John Munro, Steve Cheatham, who we've already said is out of this race, Phil Dryborough, who is competing in a different car this weekend, so he won't be picking up points there, and Johnny Hayes and Paul Cipriani in the Canuck Racing Compact.
It's a little mix that Clubman Cup this year. Steve Cheatham won at Donington, Phil Dryborough won at Croft, and then David Goodin and Nigel Greensall won at Spa.
Quick rundown on the leading positions, because we've had just over an hour now. Number 1, Carl Swift and Rob Baker in the lead. From second, number 69, Matthew Hampton and Andy Schultz. Third is number 27, Will Beach and Mark Rice. In fourth place, number 11, Ryan Parkin and Daniel Sylvester. In fifth place is number 37, Andy Marston and Brett Evans. As you can see on your screen there, are we going to get a change for third position there? We are possibly around the outside at Richie's corner. That might change though by the time they get up to Wilson. It looks like the 27 car Beach and Grice has repelled Parkin and Sylvester for the moment, so where to get to with that? I think fifth was number 37, Andy Marston and Brett Evans. Sixth, number 15, Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver. Seventh, number 92, Phil Nev and Andrew Rath. Eighth, number 13, Steve Houston and Matt Fazy. Ninth, number 67, Julian McBride. And 10th, number 14, Chris Freeman. Class B, that's 13, Steve Houston and Matt Fazy. From 14, Chris Freeman, and 51, Luke Handley. Class C, now up into the top 20, 53, Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano. From second, 98, Rory Baptiste and Tim Hartland. And third, 121, David Russell and Ed McKean. I think it's the, what have we got? I think about 5 cars on the lead lap, I think, something like that, as we watch this battle for third continue to go on.
Yeah, quite the scrap into Agostini a moment ago. Andy Marston, Brett Evans, BMW got down the inside of Daniel Sylvester and Ryan Parkins TT, but couldn't quite make the move stick. Obviously, before that, into Ritchie's, Dan Sylvester tried to go around the outside of the Mark Grice and Will Beach Audi RS3 that didn't come off. They've got traffic to deal with in a moment, so that will be another opportunity I tell you what, Rob Boston Racing have got the rear of that Lotus back together in the paddock. So that car might go back out, because I guess every point counts for Will Stacey's championship score. He's one of the championship contenders. So I think that car might go back out again. I guess the other thing to do, if they can, is try and get the fastest lap. We saw how quick Rob Boston went yesterday in that car, because that'll take a point away from Cole Swift and Rob Baker's score. That could be important, although it's going to be difficult going forward. Now, is there a penalty for the Wallace car? 16.9 seconds.
Yeah, that's for causing a collision, that is. So,
That's a weird time for causing a collision.
well, I imagine it's to swap two particular positions around.
How they can get... Okay.
Yeah, best not to ask the question.
Change here, because the Audi's lost out, hasn't it? Daniel Sylvester got down the inside into Ritchie's, and now Andy Marston and Brett Evans have followed them. So and that could be the battle we think might be for second at the end of the race, isn't it? The BMW going past the RS3.
Yeah, that's right. May well be, because we think that the 11 car's got to make another stop. And they're just catching the 117 car on the road, which is lapping the turn 9. So it's a relatively quick car as well, the compact, driven by Martin Gadsby at the moment. 54.5 minutes to go. And it is 37 Andy Marston and Brett Evans now, just ahead of the number 27 car of Beach and Grice, having lost those couple of positions on this lap. Making their way down the Bentley Straight once again. Now we're watching number 13, that's the Class B leader, Steve Houston and Matt Fazy. This is for position here, for 8th and 9th overall, although Julian McBride in a Class A number 67 car. So, not for class position, but nevertheless a close back on track between these two. McBride on the last lap was about half a second faster. Actually did his best lap of the race, Julian McBride, on the previous lap at 2:07.95, so he's going pretty well.
55 laps done by the leader, Cole Swift, and Rob Baker now 70 seconds ahead of Matthew Hampson and Andy Schulz. As I think into Ritchie's there, that pass has been made by Julian McBride, getting 8th position away from Steve Hughes and Matt Fazy, who are 6 seconds ahead of Chris Freeman now. Although involved in this battle with Julian McBride might not be the best thing for their lap times, because they might want the other car to sort of pull away and not get involved in the battle, I would think. So third across the line, Daniel Sylvester and Brett Evans pulling clear of the RS3 that lost a second and a half on that lap.
Luke Handley is just in the first or best lap of the race in 12th position, third in Class B at 2:09.07. I'm not sure it's going to do him much good though, because he is 27 seconds behind second place in that class at the moment, Chris Freeman, who we're watching on screen now, number 14 in 10th position overall. The area Motorsport car making its way around Oggies. There is the Class B leader, just getting through, and there is second in Class B, just heading through Williams and on to the Bentley Straight once again with 52 minutes of the race left to go.
Class B seems very competitive every time we see this championship. When I was at Donington Park, it was a similar story. It was a Cayman against the Gulfs, with like a race-long battle, and basically got the same thing again. Although it's not nose to tail at the moment, there's not that much of a gap between them either.
Not at all. So, black and orange mechanical warning flag, that's for car 46, and that is for Matty Taylor and Will Ashmore, so the Clubman Cup leaders, who were frustrated after qualifying when they had failed a post-qualifying ride height check. Now black and orange mechanical warning flag for the Holden Commodore, the big 6.2 litre car.
Change for third here, Ian, because the M3's gone through. So Marston and Evans go past Parker and Sylvester.
Yeah.
So So that's changed. They're 22 seconds behind Matthew Hampson, so not really catching him still. We think that BMW has another stop to make. So third, fourth and fifth brake hard down into the Wilson hairpin. The BMW M3, the Audi TT and the Audi RS3.
Yeah, those the three cars involved in this little scrap as they happen for some while. Chris Freeman there on screen. Last time he did an almost identical lap time to Hewson and Fazy. Rob Baker's just in a new fastest lap of the race as well, at 2:04.11, so he's getting quicker still. You can see that on screen now. So extending his advantage at the front of the field in the area Motorsport set, although struggling with no radio communication and a lack of drinking water in the car.
It slowed him down, hasn't it?
Just appeared to have done. Maybe the lack of distraction has helped.
It's that the drink bottle is one of the bigger.
That's the bigger concern, isn't it, today?
He hasn't got to make any more pit stops, so that's not too much of a worry. And as long as he hasn't got to report a problem back to the team that needs sorting.
Doesn't seem to be the case at the moment, does it, with those lap times that he's putting in, but there's still 50 minutes of the race to go. And there's Marston and Evans, now third on the road. 37 BMW M3.
98 in the pits, or have been in the pits, the Rory Baptiste and Tim Hartland car. Have they lost out in Class C?
Yeah, they're behind David Russell and Eddie McKean now. So I think that must have been their second mandatory stop. Now I'm not quite sure where we've got to with the other stops in Class C actually.
No, that's been a bit harder to keep track of.
I noticed that Oswick and Asano have dropped back off page 1 of the timing screen though. Back into 21st position, Class C leaders.
Daniel Sylvester looks like he wants to get this place back. He darts to the inside, that's blocked. This is about as intense as his battle was with Sean Traynor yesterday in the MR2 Championship.
That's right. Very hard fought, very entertaining.
Wonder if anyone went to pick up Ben Rushworth, or he's been stuck out there for 2 hours.
Yeah, he wouldn't. I'm trying to think he wouldn't be able to get back into the.
It's quite a long walk, but whether he knows where to go, Mike, because it's not a place where a driver would end up usually.
No, unusual to head off. There, as you can see, is car. So I don't know if he's been took that much. So there's the sort of in the road there, on the info. So he may have followed that back to wherever it leads.
Yeah, go heads back to Agostini and around the bank, and then it's quite a walk. So give him time to explain what happened to the team.
Yeah. So there's Marston and Evans, 37, and that Motion Motorsport logoed car.
The 66 has been in as well, another Class C car. The Hayes and Sabiani team have had a successful season.
Yeah, and they're behind Baptiste and Harland. That stop, though, for them was only 5:53, which is sort of right at the bounds of feasibility, I think, for a 3-minute mandatory stop. Just about could have got that done. But out they've gone, nevertheless.
This lap, the M3's pulled away. Marston and Evans from Daniel Sylvester's Ryan Parkins Audi TT. They head down here into Murray. Chris Freeman amongst them, who, if anything's losing out now to the Porsche Cayman. I wonder if this is a bit of fatigue for the solo driver. 8 seconds behind the Porsche Cayman now. Lots of tyre school through Ritchie's, don't they? When they go through there.
That's right. 46 minutes or so to go in this race. Getting down to the length of yesterday's road sports pretty much. There's Marston and Evans coming through in that 37 car then in 3rd place. So getting away from the Audi now. Having just lapped Chris Freeman as well, and heading towards the tail of the Steve Hewson Porsche.
The Holden's in after that mechanical flag, and what that's a similar sort of damage to what Andy Schulz had with tank tape in the front left corner.
Yeah. Something's been called in by a marshal who's been concerned at some bodywork
So,
clapping.
and the Sirocco's gone through to take the Clubman Cup lead. So John Morley and Stuart Mead lead the Clubman's Cup now. So can the Holden, as it goes back out, catch what is a Class B car? Well, the Holden's only been a few attempts quicker during this race, so that might be difficult. See what kind of gap there is as it goes out.
Oh, it's a long stop.
It's a whole lap behind, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a 7-minute stop, so it's cost them nearly 5 minutes, that. The 87 car is in there as well. That's the Clio. Simon Mason and Chris Byallen. 0.6 litre car. Where's that running? He's in 25th position at the moment.
That's a 4th generation Clio. 1600cc turbo engine. Simon Mason's a 1-year-old driving instructor from Manchester. Been racing since 1989, but had 4 years out. He's a 3-time Silverstone 24-hour class winner, though, so likes endurance racing. So hopefully he's enjoying this. I think it's his first outing in Club Enduro. I've got two class leaders together there for a moment as the Hewson Porsche was lapping the Crown Paints 328 BMW.
That's right. There's the Honda coming down towards us at Brundle.
That's very noisy when it comes past here. The Ricky Cumber car.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Matthew Hampton's in the pits, is he? Because that car's dropping down the timing sheets, and the Ryan Parkin TT.
Yes, to both of those actually. Yep, they're both in there. So those cars that were 2nd and 5th, I think, weren't they?
Well, it's only in that.
In the top 5 anyway. So those we thought it's got to make extra, well, not extra stops, but they're further stops.
TT's having new tyres, that's all. The TT a front-wheel drive car.
I think it must be, yeah.
Sticker tyres, so how quick can that go with some new tyres on? But it's going to obviously be a long way down the order. So Andy Marston and Brett Evans now 2nd, 4 seconds clear of Will Beach and Mark Grice. We thought that would be the battle for the podium. Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver from the pit lane, 4th. And who's going to come through in 5th? Could be Phil Nibb and Andrew Raff. It is. Not sure if they made their 2nd stop or not.
I have a feeling they did. I'm sure. I think they may well have done, but prepared to be proved wrong on that.
Well, you've got to make your 2nd stop within the next half an hour. If you haven't,
yeah, 15 minutes is the cut-off time for that. So the 117 car's been in again, but Gadsby and Jones are probably using this as an extended testing session now, aren't they, after those early dramas, running in 33rd place and 10 laps behind the leaders.
yeah, because they're quite long pit stops they're doing as well, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
It's been an impressive show because that car's fastest lap is still right up there, isn't it?
Yeah, 2:06.57. There's only 2, 3 times faster than that I can see on screen, I think. 4, maybe 4 then. Faster than that.
But very few for the type of car it is.
That's right. Very impressive piece of equipment.
61 laps done by Rob Baker and Cole Swift now. Watching that Ricky Cumber Civic making its way through. Car he shares with Mark Simmons. I think it's RKC, the team behind that car. Which I think it raced in Dubai, that 24-hour race.
And then we see the view in the pit lane. Number 11 car in, the Dan Sylvester and Ryan Parkin Audi.
They're falling down the order a long way, aren't they?
Yeah, certainly are.
I think Andy Schulz has gone back out 13th.
That's right.
5.5 minutes the lap, the in-lap and the pit stop.
So pretty efficiently done. I would suggest.
That splitter on the Holden hitting the ground again, so the fact that they haven't done the repairs as effectively as they might have done. It was rattling past here. We watch Andy Marston and Brett Evans. They've been re-caught by the RS3. The gap was 4 seconds, it's come down to 2.
Well, last time it was 1.8 seconds that the Beach and Grice car, number 27, made up. Over the line they've gone, at that time through another 10th they've made up. Black and orange flags are 46 again. That's the Holden ones.
Oh dear.
Oh, and that's a breakage on the 121 car. The left rear suspension or steering or something has collapsed there.
Similar to what happened to the Rob Boston Lotus, and that was right up there in Class C, I think.
Yeah, it was third. In fact, there was second, weren't they? Yeah, it was second when that's failed. Behind Joel Oswick and Dan Osano. So that's going to bring the Roy Baptiste and Tim Hartland car in.
See why the Holden's being brought in. See the splitter flapping about and rattling the tarmac.
Yeah.
So the tap tape's not done its job.
I think that was the issue they had in qualifying as well, wasn't it? From what I understand.
Right.
With the car failing the right height checks.
They're going to fall out of contention in this Clubman Cup race.
So that yeah, because it is Maudsley and Mead that are now ahead in that class, isn't it?
Yeah. Not sure. So that's where Oswick and Orsano, I think, are going to score good points, not just in Class C, but in the Clubman's Cup too, for the older cars. Oh, they're in the pits, the Class C leaders, just coming out the pit lane. So I think all the Class C cars probably did have to make another pit stop.
Seems like one too many to me, but I might be wrong on that. But we'll see how things pan up. That's the Russell and McKean car. And that stopped just at the pit lane entrance, hasn't it, as well? It's not blocking the pit lane entrance, but the officials probably won't want to leave that car there.
Yeah, with a broken rear of the car. Still in the pit lane is the Darkside TT.
Yeah, it's been in there far too long, hasn't it? It's 17th on the screens now. 4 laps behind the leader, Carl Swift and Rob Baker. So clearly some issues that the Darkside squad have had. The Holden's in again, by the way, to get that splitter sorted if they can. It's either going to need a lot more tank tape or some another approach to be taken completely. That's the one car just going through shot, the race leader Swift and Baker. That's the 66th car. Now this is a car that could move into a Class C podium position with some of the other issues that we've had. There's the Darkside Developments car going back out into the race again. How long was that stop? It was 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So that's probably 3 minutes more than it should have been. So that's cost them another lap and a bit.
Rob Baker's just done a lap 100th of a second slower than his previous best. So that car is still going very quickly. And for second, the gap is down to 7/10 of a second. So the BMW's been re-caught by the Audi RS3. So Andy Marston and Brett Evans back under threat again. They gained that position 15 minutes ago, perhaps?
Yeah, something like that.
Here they are, just left with the Class B leader, Steve Hewson. And then battle will be resumed.
Yep, and there the Audi goes past the Class B car to put another lap on it. It's working its 62nd lap. These cars ahead are working their 63rd. So it's actually the first time it's been lapped by that particular car.
And 6 seconds pretty much still is that back gap for Steve Hewson.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd say it, we just all go through Palmer, was running very wide. I think he stayed on the track. And the Wallace car, that was.
That's right. So Steve Hewson, Matt Fazy, Porsche out there. Steve Hewson's car. Matt Fazy goes over. David Russell's still in his car, and it's the car's still there. But we do now have the safety car boards. Safety car is out, and that will be, I'm sure, to allow the recovery of that car from that rather prone position on the pit lane entrance. Now, a perfect opportunity for anyone that's not yet made their stop to do so, with just over half an hour left to go. This third safety car of the race. But I'm not sure that there's that many cars that still need to make a stop, is there, Josh?
No. Cold Swift and Rob Baker's lead is going to come down significantly.
Yeah, it will do.
But there's going to be a lot of traffic between them. I don't think the others have got the pace to take the fight, have they?
No, but I guess it makes it interesting if Swift and Baker do find that they have problems in the closing stages of the race.
But what it will do is make the Class B battle gap come down a little bit more. We'll think about these gaps, but while we do that, we can go back downstairs into the pit lane.
Well, with this safety car, I think we just get time for a quick chat with number 11, Ryan Parkin. Ryan, we were chatting earlier on. It was actually a safety car ago we were supposed to have a chat, but better late than never.
Yeah, definitely. Like us, we're late.
Well, how's your race going?
It looks like we're doing all right at a minute, but we've just had to do a second stop under green, then there's a safety car. But we seem to be using a bit more fuel than we expected, and just as it got to 1 litre on the dash, we spoke to him and he said 1 litre, then the radio comms went, and next thing he were in pits and he said it's spluttering, so we've got a problem.
So with less than an hour to go then, what's sort of the aim, what's the target for the rest of the race?
I think if we do top 10 we've done good, but the car's just not right. It don't want to turn in, it don't want to exit the corners. We're not quite there yet. We've got the pace on the straights, the TCRs are sort of, I'd say we're a bit quicker than the TCRs because we've got a bit more power, but the corner just can't, for some reason we can't get the car to turn.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on you, Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for the chat.
Cheers for that.
And with that, it's back to you in the commentary box.
Thanks, Kieran. Kieran McGinney down there in the pit lane. He was catching up with Ryan Parkin. That's the car that needs to be recovered, and we're just waiting for a gap to be created to allow the recovery crew to get there, because it is going to take a full lift, isn't it? Now, the other thing, I suppose, is that while they're recovering it, the pit lane will be effectively closed to new entrants, because the recovery vehicle would be clearly blocking the pit lane entrance. So I imagine the pit lane will be closed. We've had a change on our screen. Julie McBride has gone ahead of the next car through, Houston Fazy, I think. May or may not be
It's the
correct.
Gillespie and Drybrook car that's not come through.
Yes, that's right. Yes, you're quite right. It's the Gillespie car that's not come through. It's in the pits. That's why. Yeah.
Didn't realise they hadn't made their second stop. Well, I guess it's a good time for them to. They
Yeah,
won't do
absolutely. Yeah. So that's right. Pit lane closed, and that's not because we've reached the end of the pit lane window, but the pit lane is being closed while the recovery work is being done. So if you're in there, that's fine. You can go back out again, but no one else able to go into the pit lane just at the moment while this recovery work is being done of the car that's right at the pit lane entrance with the breakage.
The safety car has picked up the leader, by the way, so that's a good job by race control. That's not easy when there's 40 or so cars out there. And I noticed the two Class B leaders are nose to tail on the track, so that is going to be a sprint to the flag, I suspect.
It will be. We're going to get probably just under half an hour of racing. You say there's 40 cars on the track, we're pretty less than that now, aren't we? Because there's quite a few that have fallen by the wayside along the way, so we're probably into mid-30s at most, I would suggest. Cars still circulating.
I don't think we did see the Rob Boston racing car get back out, so perhaps they just fixed it enough to get it on the
trailer,
yeah,
or into the truck or whatever. So there's the recovery work being done. It's going to take a full lift, I think, by the recovery crew. Holden Commodore's going back out again with some more and stronger tape. And that goes back out into the race. So hopefully that splitter will remain intact.
Now they've dropped to 23rd in the race.
Yeah, Class C now. That's still Joe Oswick and Dan Osano.
The Club and Cup car leaders in the pits, the Maudley and Mead.
And now it's going to be stuck behind the red light here because the safety car train's coming through, so it's going to lose a lap here.
So, well, they think they're still leading.
Is Michael Downey's not a Club and Cup car, is he?
It might be. Yes, he is.
Yeah, so Michael Downey is the driver that might benefit there in the number 76 Porsche Boxster and take the Club and Cup. honours.
Well, I think it might be a real battle if they're on the same lap.
Yeah, could well be.
Yeah, here comes Michael Downey near the back of the queue. Second and third in the race are going to be nose to tail in a lot of traffic, just actually with the Class B leaders behind. Because you've got the BMW and the RS3 together, so there's some real battles to be had. Yeah, so all those cars that are involved in battles are going to... The other wheel's fallen off the BMW,
It has.
So that's the whole rear suspension's collapsed. But yeah, those battles in class for second overall and for Class B are going to be in all the traffic, so that first 2 or 3 laps are going to be pretty hectic. But yeah, Michael Downey is ahead of the Sirocco, but the Sirocco has proved to be quicker in this race and are on the same lap, so we've got back to the Club and Cup lead as well. Class C leaders, don't think they're on the same lap, are they? Safety car still out, so let's head back down to the pit lane.
Yes, down here in the pit lane, I'm here at the number 15 garage with Phil Driver, who's just come out of the car. Phil, good stint for you today?
It was. I think we came out of the garage 13th and we were 4th when we came in. So I don't know who's fallen out and who we've overtaken, but yeah, it has to be a good stint. We started from the very back of the grid, so to be that far up is obviously very satisfying.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of work goes into this. I mean, what's the target for the end of the race going into sort of the final few minutes?
Hey, we started from the very back, so we thought top 10, and then Colin had a mega first stint, got us into 8 or 9. So once you get that far up, you hope some of the BMs and Lotuses fall over themselves, and then you're always hoping for a podium after that. I'd hate a 4th. 4th's always the worst position, but yeah, 3rd would be fantastic. Yeah.
Podium chasing. Good target, that.
I think we are, yeah. I'll have to check and see how that runs out with pit stops, and that's us taking our last stop now, so we're good to go to the end. No more driver changes, so up to Colin to bring it home.
Up to Colin to bring it home. Let's see if he can. Phil, thank you so much for the chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, it's back to the commentary box.
Yeah, I hate to, puncture Phil Driver's hopes there, but they're now 8th on the timing screen. And for about a minute, or now there's a safety car out there behind Houston and Faison and Freeman. Although they're Class B cars, so let's take them out of the equation. So they're 6th in Class A at the moment. So it may not take too much. He might end up in that 4th position that he is really not a fan of. But we'll see how all of that pans out.
Has Jonah McBride taken his second stop?
I'm not completely sure on that. I think he may have done, but not completely certain.
He has.
He's doing really well.
Yeah, exactly. But he's had some decent lap times. He's been in the 7s in this race.
Yeah.
Which is great to see.
Safety car lights are out, as you can see there. As we shortly should go green flag racing again. So the BMW has been
Why is
cleared.
nobody behind Rebecca? They're starting to catch up now for some reason.
Yeah.
They're not really. He's not exactly going quickly.
No, he's not. But anyway.
But he's now got a good chance to go even faster, hasn't he? With no traffic for a few laps.
That's right. So he's going to have a clear circuit ahead of him
But
now.
what we want to do is look towards the back of the queue, because that's where the battle for second is, and the battle for Class B are going to be working their way through the traffic, and that'd be really spectacular to watch, I think. So if we can have a look back to that BMW and Audi battle.
We've got 27 minutes of the race left to go.
Look at this as
And
they
a
all
green
come through in big clump, so it's going to be very busy. Here we can see the Class B battle, and then just in front of the Porsche Cayman is the battle for second in the race, which is almost overlapping. They're just lapping the Club and Cup leader as they go through. So Andy Marston turns through. Okay, somebody's gone off at Ritchie's, have they?
That's the Ginetta. That's the Ginetta that's gone around of Webster and Tidmarsh. The number 8 car, the Flying Tangerine car, can get back out into the race again.
So I thought that restart might be interesting, and it turned out to be the case. So the field coming through. I think Andy Marston and Brett Evans held on to second, but look at the traffic they've got to deal with. This is extraordinary. Down towards Agostini. Yeah, it's still the M3 ahead, and just behind it's the Class B battle. They're 3 abreast in front. Where can Andy Marston go to gain positions?
Yeah, and that's the Phil Nib car just ahead, which is a lap down, isn't it?
Steve Hewson's overtaking these Class A cars, or trying to in his Cayman, but then realised he hasn't got the power, because he's trying to get away from Chris Freeman, because he's battling for a class win.
Yeah, Freeman only just behind him. So they're turning their way through Hamilton now, and Oggy's the right-hander, and then up towards Williams to bring themselves onto the Bentley straight with 26 minutes of this race left to go.
Here comes the RS3 down the inside into Williams. There's not really room for that, so he had to back out of it.
Almost brings Steve Hewson back into it as well, who's a lap behind, but in the Class B car.
But that's held him up, so the Golf of Chris Freeman's got the run down towards the S's here. So can the Golf, our cameraman trying to pick the cars out. Let's see if we can work out how that all was paid off. In the background, it's still the Porsche Cayman ahead in Class B.
It is for the moment, yes, ahead of Chris Freeman, just behind those two cars disputing second place on the road as well, and as they're sort of getting slower cars between them now, as well as they come up towards the end of this lap. There's the 27 car of Beach and Grice. There's the 13 car of Hewson and Fazy, and then 14 right behind is Chris Freeman in the Golf. This is the battle for the Class B victory. 25 minutes, so probably about 12 laps to go, something like that.
Through they come, up towards Ritchie's. The Porsche Cayman's got a good straight line, so it's able to fend off the Golf. Wasn't such a good restart for the RS3. Will Beach and Mark Grice lost about a second and a half to Andy Marston and Brett Evans, who dealt with the traffic the best.
And they lost 7 seconds or 9 seconds to the race leader Carl Swift and Rob Baker. It's Rob Baker out there at the moment, and that's because he had a completely clear track ahead of him at the restart.
There's 1.5 seconds in it in the Clubman Cup. Michael Downey to the Maudsley and Mead Sirocco, so that's also on. Very much so.
Yep, so that's a good little scrap as well. And there is a big gap between the Class C leaders. That's about a lap and a half, or a lap and a bit, between Oswick and Asano in Class C lead, and Baptiste and Hartland in second in that class.
So the lead as well, in lap 68. Oh, and the Porsche Cayman's had a huge slide, and off the road goes Steve Hewson's Porsche, and Christopher Freeman goes through into the lead of Class B. The Area Motorsport Golf then ahead. That was a mistake from Steve Hewson or Matt Fazy, whoever's in the car now at Hamilton. The car got very sideways, went across the grass. Didn't lose huge amounts of time considering the moment, but it has lost that position importantly. Lost the lead of Class B, and Chris Freeman takes the lead for now.
Yeah, an error there under pressure. He's not lost too much time, only a couple of seconds, so there is still a chance for him to come back at Chris Freeman. Freeman now in control. He'll try and get his head down and pull out a bit of a gap. Third place car in that class is Luke Handy, but I think he's now a long way adrift within Class B, so he's not really going to enter into the equation, I don't think.
No, he got caught. He got caught on the other side of the safety car.
May have done, yeah. So there's Freeman, our Class B leader, up on 3 wheels through Freeman. There's some black smoke pouring forth from the back of the Porsche briefly as well.
Just a turbo.
Yeah, I think so.
Through they come into Ritchie's. First time one of the Golfs has got ahead in the whole race, I think. Or certainly since very early in the race. But it's not over yet.
Certainly not. Gap between them at the beginning of the lap was just over a second, 1.08 seconds between the two Class B leaders. Leader first to second overall is now 28.74 seconds between Rob Baker and the Andy Martin and Brett Evans BMW, which is on screen now.
1.7 seconds the gap in Clubman Cup between Michael Downey and Maudsley and Mead.
And they're both in Class B cars as well, aren't they? But that's for the Clubman Cup for older machinery across all the classes.
There's Andy Marston, still second. As you said, that gap back to the RS3 Audi.
2.5 seconds now, isn't it, between the two of them?
That was all made on that first lap from the restart.
That's right.
That Audi R3, very spectacular looking car. For sure.
Chris Freeman on the previous lap was actually catching Phil Nib and Andrew Rapp as well, wasn't he? For overall 5th position as well. Although that may have just been a slow lap for the Nib and Rapp Seat. And is that a new fastest lap of the race? It is a new fastest lap of the race for Rob Baker. a 2:03.65 he is now done after 239 minutes of racing. New fastest lap of the race for Rob Baker. Fantastic effort. I think an issue with his drinks facility in the car as well, so that's not making life any easier for him.
No, and he's only 6/10 off that Chris Boardman lap record now. See, Andy Schulz has got himself into the top 10. He's in the 2:04s as well, so he's going quicker than he went earlier. So the track's obviously quite quick at the moment. And of course the car's low on fuel, so a little bit lighter. Some cars have had tyre changes, some haven't.
That's right. So there's the 27 car in third place again. It's effectively just over a lap ahead of Phil Nibble Andrew Rath car, which is just behind it on the road.
0.8 of a second in it in the Clubman Cup, so this is 63. Maudley and Mead catching 76. Michael Downey for the Clubman Cup, as Ian was saying, for the older cars, less than a second in it now.
Quick rundown with 20 minutes to go. The leader, number 1, Carl Swift and Rob Baker. 37, Andrew Marston, Brett Evans in second. 27, Will Beach and Mark Rice in third. 67, Julian McBride fourth. 92, Phil Nibble Andrew Rath fifth. 6th and leading Class B, number 14, Chris Freeman. 7th, number 13, Steve Houston and Matt Fazer second in Class B. 8th, number 15, Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver. 9th, number 69, Matthew Hampton and Andy Schultz. And 10th, number 51, Luke Handley, is also third in Class B. In Class C, it's Joel Oswick and Dan Olsano that lead in car 53. Second, 98, Rory Baptiste and Tim Hartland. And third, Johnny Hayes and Paul Sorbiani now in the number 66 car.
Less than 20 minutes to go. There's second. Half a minute behind the leader, Andy Martin and Brett Evans. Leader is across the line. And there then the M3 turns its way through. Remember, that car started way back on the grid, outside the top 20. Struggled in the wet.
That's a good performance. The Schultz car, I think, has just gone through, hasn't it?
2:04.75.
Personal best lap of the race.
Way behind the next group, so I don't think they're going to gain any more positions. 9th overall.
Yeah, but it is getting away from Luke Handley, of course, one of the Class B cars in any case.
Class B lead change across the line. Steve Houston's Porsche came back ahead of Chris Freeman by the looks of it. And I think they just lapped Jonathan Packer's car. The one of the area Golfs. Yeah.
Houston and Fazy back ahead.
That's what I just said.
Oh, sorry, yes, I was watching that on the timing tab. Beg your pardon.
But there they are on the screen as well now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happened to Packer, because they've lapped him, and while they were lapping him, his teammate lost the lead. So that's not gone well at Area Motorsport.
It's not, has it? Again, still time to turn this around again. 17 and 3/4 minutes of the race left to go.
3 attempts in it in the Clubman Cup lead. Michael Downey's been completely caught now by the Sirocco. There's the Class B leader. I think there's something wrong with Jonathan Packer's Golf. It's moving around. How slow was his last lap? 2 minutes 13, not too bad.
No, it's about 3 seconds off his best.
This is where it went all wrong for the Intelligent Money Porsche. So again, it's a bit wide over the curves. So can Chris Freeman look, he's right underneath the rear wing. He's got a tighter line. He's back up the inside into Williams. They changed positions less than a lap ago, and they're changing again in. You said there's time to go. Well, it didn't take long.
No, well, and who would rule out another change of position before the end?
Before the next corner?
I was going to say, before the next corner, let alone the end of the race. Because it looks like Houston and Fazy's Porsche is getting back alongside on the rundown. Yep, back in front.
Wow. We thought
and yellow flags there, we can see Brundle and Nelson as well. Now, I can't see why that is at the moment. I think the move was done before the yellow flags. Can't see why we have those flags at the moment.
I can see you're here, the car off. Not sure who that might be. Is it BMW? Yeah, if that's our Alpha Live cameras, they'll pick that up.
Yeah, that's just at Nelson, isn't it?
Julian McBride's up to 4th. Well, he was, but he hasn't come through. Julian McBride had the pitch. Phil Nibb and Andrew Raffers back ahead of him.
there's a Honda in the
Is it
pits.
McBride that's off then?
Could be, couldn't it?
He had just. Well, I
Just about possible. Looking at the, if we can pick that up.
I wonder if it might just be out of range.
On the camera. It could just be, yeah.
They might be behind the barriers from the angle of our cameraman.
Yeah, we thought.
He's out the car, the driver. But certainly Phil Nibb and Andrew Raff are up to 4th now, which means Steve Houston and Matt Fazy, Class B leaders, are 5th. And Chris Freeman 6th. And Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver are 7th. So that's a shame for Julie McBride. Whatever the case is.
Certainly is. 15 minutes to go. We've not had a place change between these two for a few corners. Those are the Class B leaders, Steve Houston and Matt Fazy and Chris Freeman.
Something's happened to the Saxon Motorsport Sirocco because John Maudley and Stuart Meader just had a 2 minutes 21.
Ooh.
So the Clubman Cup lead gap has gone back out again.
Michael Downey then, 76, is the leader of the Clubman Cup at the moment. The overall lead, by the way, now 38 seconds clear. Carl Swift and Rob Baker. Rob Baker at the
Lots
wheel.
of dust, and Class B leaders off, completely off this time across the grass. So Steve Houston and Matt Fazy, who had just extended their lead a little bit, have gone off again. That's 2 mistakes, and so the Gulf is back ahead. Chris Freeman, the driver who's been in the car for the whole way. The car's going off everywhere here. The Giannetta's got damage.
Yeah, it's the front bodywork that's gone this time. It was the rear bodywork yesterday.
And it's Michael Downey's involved, the
it
Clubman
is.
Cup leader.
And we saw the Scirocco going through shot there, didn't we, to retake the Clubman Cup lead. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Presumably there's been some contact between the Giannetta and the Porsche of Michael Downey. Both of those cars are right on the edge of the circuit as well, Josh, up there at Hamilton.
This is dramatic, isn't it? Is that damage to the splitter of the Cayman after that off?
It looks like it, doesn't it? Not serious damage, I don't think, but could be enough to upset the handling of the car. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with those cars off at Hamilton. I think the Giannetta and the Porsche still there on the edge of the circuit, aren't they? As my chair falls to pieces underneath me. So 13 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. There is Michael Downey out of his number 76 car that was leading the Clubman Cup.
The drama in the last, well, since the restart, really.
Plenty of it. He's walking away.
Surely we're going to have another interruption.
And now the number 8 car being vacated by the driver. That was the car being shared by Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster.
So they lost the rear of the car yesterday and they lost the front of it today.
Yeah, exactly. The middle has remained pretty intact all weekend, though. You can see that the safety car's poised. Ready to go out. Boards are being prepared as well. So this is only going to go one way. And there's only 13 minutes of this race left to go now, Josh, as well. Safety car flag is out.
Yeah, the leader's coming up to Murray's. I think that's what they were waiting for.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the safety car's going to go out, so it will pick up the race leader, Carl Swift and Rob Baker. How many cars, I wonder, were there between Rob Baker and Andy Marston then? Quite a few, I imagine.
Yeah, and the thing is for Marston is he's not got the pace. His first lap is 3 seconds slower.
That is true. And also, you have to question how many laps we'll get, if any, after this safety car's.
1.
You know.
If we do, it's going to be a mad dash in Class B again.
It is.
Ooh, and I don't know what's happened to the pit lane, but there's debris everywhere down this end.
Yeah, that I think came off the Holden Commodore when that went back out.
Well, I think a car just, the McGann that just went out the pits has just gone through it. Yeah, the 2 Class B leaders are together, so much like the previous restart, assuming we get one with 2 cars to pick up, is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, so it'll be a little while before we can get the recovery vehicles out there. Of course, there's 3 cars out there now, including that of Ben Rushworth, the Court Miller car that's been out there for 2 hours or so. So that'll be left there, I imagine. But they'll do need to clear up the Giannetta and the Porsche of Michael Downey.
I wonder if they're doing anything with the potentially it's the Julie McBride M3 that continues to tumble down the time. The driver's having a chat now.
Yeah. I think hand gestures are involved, but we can't see them. Can't see the hands.
So it's going to move some of the contenders up in Class B a bit.
It will.
Particularly John Maudley and Stuart Mead. That's the Clubman Cup lead
yes.
for them.
Have they got any possible threat now for anybody else? I don't think they have.
It's the Holden, which is the question, but I think they are.
That's a lap or so down, isn't it? so it should be all right. So safety car order here at Snetterton into the last 11 minutes of this race, the last 11 minutes of this 750 Motor Club race meeting. So, we've been doing this race for so long, I'd almost forgotten we'd had 8 previous sprint races today. Had some good action during the course of this weekend, and 750 Motor Club rescue vehicle going out as well now to help with the situation, no doubt. We're back here again in October, aren't we, at 750 Motor Club, for some championship finals.
Scary to think about that, yeah.
I know, but it's not far away, Josh. 2.5 months is all that it is until that. That is on, so championship final is not too far away.
So the Club Enduro Championships, we're only getting sort of halfway. Yeah, this is round 4 of 8,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah. So where are the remaining rounds, Josh?
Or 4 of 7, if I can count.
Yes.
So we've got Silverstone in August, Anglesey in September, and Oulton Park in October. So
First time we've been to Anglesey with Club Enduro for a little while.
yeah, that's right. I think they had the 3-hour race in the past, haven't they? So
They have.
if we get a big win at Anglesey, that would be great for that venue to have such a race.
That's right. Right. What's going on now? Okay, yellow flag, safety car flags going in, and the checkered flag is being prepared now, I can see. So I think they have decided that there's no time to get these cars cleared and the race back underway. So it's going to be the checkered flag, I think, next time round. The safety car at the moment is leading them around out of Nelson towards the bomb hole.
And our pit lane marshals are now having to change jobs, which
Yes.
they weren't expecting to get the gates sorted up there on the approach to Tyrrell's.
Yeah, that's right.
Got
Because
it.
we'll have cars coming in at the back of Palmer's and into Park Ferme. So hopefully our cameraman and Kieran McGinley are also about to head around there as well.
This is ruining John Elsie's finish of the race shot. I can see that he was
Yeah,
planning
He's
that.
been planning that all weekend and he's come to this. But never mind. All the other chances.
I think we've got everybody in shot in one here.
Good, right. So safety car is coming up to the line. Checkered flag is being made ready. And it is going to be a win in round 4 of the Tagiwa Club Enduro Championship of 2022 for Rob Baker and Carl Swift. A really excellent drive it was then by Rob Baker, particularly in the second half of the race. Many congratulations to the Area Motorsport SEAT team. Second place is going to go across the line now to Andy Marston and Brett Evans in the number 37 BMW M3. Third place should go the way of number 27 Will Beach and Mark Grice. Yes, it does. And then Class B victory goes to Chris Freeman, number 14. So he takes the checkered flag to win Class B after a frenetic final part of the race, the battle with Steve Hewson and Matt Fazy. So they take second in Class B. And third in Class B, I think, is Luke Handley. And just having taken the Class C victory now is the number 53 car. Back into the top 20 they've gone right at the end of the race. Joel Oswick and Dan Olsano in their BMW 3 Series. So that's number 53 taking the Class B win from Rory Baptiste and Tim Hartland in the 330. And Johnny Hayes and Paul Subiani in the BMW as well. So BMW to the 4 in Class C. And Clubman Cup honours, they have gone the way of John Maudsley and Stuart Mead in the VW Scirocco, finishing 15th overall in the end, and also well up in Class B as well. So a bit of a shame that the race finished that way, Josh, but we had some excitement, didn't we, in the final stages?
Yeah, that Class B battle was fantastic to watch, and really that gap between those two, no, it was more than sort of 10 seconds at any point in the race, was it? There was a real battle that lasted to the whole distance in Class B. Class A, Cole Swift and Rob Baker dominated that really, and Class C was dominated too, with Joel Oswick and Dan Olsano. And the incumbent car, that was getting the car to the end. John Maudsley and Stuart Mead doing that job successfully, and of course only taking the class lead near the end when Michael Downey had his off.
That's right. So you can see our Victor has been shepherded into Park Ferme. Most of the rest of the cars, I think, are going to be sent elsewhere. Certainly, probably the top 3 in each class are going to go into Parc Fermé for their post-race scrutiny and check. So hopefully we'll get our a word with certainly our overall race winner and potentially class winners as well from the Tigua Club Enduro Championship. A reminder that there's more live streaming action from the 750 Motor Club next weekend. That's at Donington Park, a full day of live streaming action on the Saturday. On the Sunday there's coverage of the BMW Car Club Summerfest event, which features racing as well from the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, the Ultimate BMW Race and the 116 Trophy. As I mentioned earlier on, 750 Motor Club are back here again at Snetterton in October.